We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. We the ones they the ones they can't skip. Fighting for respect, it's a tough road ahead. But we pack that heart and we never dread. Late hits and big plays, we bring in the heat. Watch out for the G5, we can't be beat. From the MAC to the Sun Belt, we don't back down. In this football jungle, we wear the crown. All the doubt is sleeping, but we making noise. In the G5 Hive, we the realest boys. When the clock's ticking down, we the ones to believe. One play, one chance, we gon' make them achieve. From the sidelines to the end zone, hear that roar. In the G5 Hive, we always wantin' more. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. So raise your flags high, let them wave in the air. In the G5 Hive, we the squad that's rare. With heart and grit, we rewriting the script. In the world of college football, we the ones they can't skip. Yeah.
Here's Navarro on the run. Navarro's going to keep it. Navarro for 6! Touchdown, Bobcat!
I feel I had a hard time staying in my own lane.
Oh my goodness! Brett Murdoch! Pick 6!
Harvath inside the 30, the 20. Blake Harvath will score!
And Mendoza takes a big hit. He never saw it coming. Trey White got in there.
There's his man, Rucker. And nobody's going to catch him. Goodbye.
Intercepted!
Tyree Skipper! Touchdown!
Telly again, why not? A step forward and make it 2 for Telly!
Quarterback keeper showing off the speed, steps on the gas, untouched!
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive, where we bring you the G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. It helps with all the things that I don't understand. Algorithms. I don't get them, but they help. Tonight, we will bring you up to speed on news around the G5, review what went down in Week 13, set you guys up for success with our Week 14 preview. As a show note, no 2020 players on the show this week. However, we will tweet out graphics, recognize the players for their offense on Tuesday. Defense will be Wednesday, but we will have 2020 players on next week's show. The other thing that we'll talk about here, a couple teams got added for bowl eligibility, as well as what does the conference championship outlook look like? Who's bidding for those spots? We will talk a little bit about that coming up later tonight.
Yeah, some of those scenarios, like, I don't even know. Like, it wasn't clear to me, like, what in the world's going to happen. Like, just because, all other than the Sun Belt, I think is probably the cleanest. And the reason why it's cleanest, it has divisions. So since you don't have divisions anymore, you have an unbalanced schedule, and so you know when there's multiple teams tied, like you can't just use head to head because chances are pretty good they all didn't play each other. And so it just makes for a convoluted, different scenarios, man. But on that note, it's good to be back. I was out last week. A week ago, had gotten home from surgery. Recovery's going well. I was telling Luke earlier, I think it's going too well from the standpoint that maybe I overdid it yesterday or today because I'm hurting a little bit tonight. So I think that's just my body saying, hey, buddy, like the doctor said, take it easy for 2 weeks. You better listen and take it easy for 2 weeks. Probably.
Well, we are glad to have you back on the show. I'm glad because I tell you, doing that solo, I think it was
rough. I know it's a lot. It's a lot.
It was a lot. I kept needing to take drinks, so this helps. So you know what? Let's get right into our G5 Hive Players of the Week for Week 13. And my Offensive Player of the Week for Week 13 is Kennesaw State quarterback Amari Odom. Amari threw for 387 yards and 5 touchdowns while adding 32 yards and another touchdown on the ground to lead the Owls to a big CUSA victory over Missouri State. Congratulations, Amari.
My Defensive Player of the Week for Week 13 is Central Michigan Edge Michael Heldman. Michael had 5 tackles, 3 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks to lead the Chippewas to a victory over Kent State. Congratulations, Michael, and congratulations on an outstanding season this year for Central Michigan. My Offensive Player of the Week for Week 13, none other than North Texas wide receiver Wyatt Young. Wyatt caught 8 balls for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns to set a new American Conference single-game receiving yards record in the Mean Green's victory over Rice. Congratulations, Wyatt.
My Defensive Player of the Week for Week 13, Louisiana Tech safety Jakari Foster. Jakari had 8 tackles, 3 solo, and 2 big interceptions to lead the Bulldogs to victory over the Liberty Flame. Congratulations, Jakari. Now, for the G5 Hive Freshman Offensive Player of the Week for Week 13, it's Appalachian State running back Jakari Lewis. Jakari rushed for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns while catching 5 balls for 39 yards to lead the Mountaineers to victory over Marshall. Congratulations, Jakari.
The G5 Hive Freshman Defensive Player of the Week for Week 13, Tulsa Edge Hudson Ball. Hudson had 10 tackles and 2 solos to lead Tulsa to a victory over the Army Black Knights. Congratulations, Hudson. And I believe it's the second time this year Hudson has been a freshman Defensive Player of the Week.
All right, Justice, that does it for our Players of the Week, our Freshmen of the Week. Let's buckle up, dive right into some things. There was a lot of good games this week. Whether you like defense, whether you like offense, had plenty of those. But first, let's start with what the Swarm needs to know in our news and notes.
First couple of notes. The first note's really, it's a sad note. It really kind of hits home for me. But UAB offensive lineman Daniel Mincy was arrested Saturday after stabbing 2 teammates, Josh Underwood and Josiah Patterson, both defensive linemen, at the football facility prior to the game on Saturday. Those 2 teammates were taken to the hospital, but they have since been released and are recovering at home. Mincy is clearly no longer a part of the UAB football team, and he's being charged with aggravated assault and attempted murder. There's, no one, I haven't heard any official statements on like what the motive or what caused this. there's rumors on the internet. Probably the one I've seen the most is referring to an incident on the practice field the day before, maybe a fight, a scuffle or something. Whatever, it is what it is. But it's just sad to see, right? Like that people feel they need to solve their problems by using violence, by potentially taking another person's life. And that's just a sad state of affairs. And it's not just football, it's in the world today. But
and you think of the state of UAB, you fire your head coach, so you've got all these kids that Dilford has recruited, and when you as a parent have your kid go to school, it's no different than an elementary school, but you kind of put your kid's life in that coach. That's almost like an extension of family, and then him not being there, and then you've got Mortensen who's there kind of taking over, and then this happens under his watch. It's just it's not good on any level.
No. Staying with news again, not good. We'll get this out of the way early. Colorado State quarterback Darius Curry was suspended for a spitting incident at Boise State. Offensive lineman Liam Wertman was also suspended for another unsportsmanlike incident. Again, that kind of stuff we just saw it in the NFL, right? With Jamar Chase, that kind of stuff. That stuff just has no place in sports, right? I get it. You don't like each other, whatever. People in the world are going to do things to hurt you, bring you down, whatever. And you cannot control that. The one thing you can control is how you react to it, right? And so, hopefully these two young men, it serves as a lesson learned. I did see an apology. Darius Curry did post an apology, taking ownership for what he did, and basically said, hey, I'm an idiot. I was not raised this way. My parent, I'm ashamed. Saying all the right things. And so you like to see that. Liam Wertman also posted a statement. His statement was a little bit different in the sense that I don't know what he was accused of or what happened. I didn't see the game, but whatever it was, he says he didn't do it. However, he does agree that what the accusation was has no place in football. And so he takes ownership from that perspective. However, he says whatever it was, he didn't do it. But nonetheless, just, I don't know. Hate to start off with two bad stories. But I felt like they were things significant enough to talk about. Moving on, and maybe this will be the third bad story. At least it feels like a nightmare to me, and it's got to feel like a nightmare to Middle Tennessee fans. It's being reported that Middle Tennessee head coach Derek Mason will return in 2026. I guess that's a bad story too, because that's a bad nightmare if I'm a Middle Tennessee fan, man. Oh, we've been talking for weeks. When's he going to get fired?
Well, I would say you've been talking about. I guess I don't know if I want to say necessarily old school, but I'm all right, 3 years is about that's when things get really warm or hot, depending on how the coaching season has gone. I feel like you have shifted to more of the 2 years. I'm on the 3 years. You're on the 2. You're all right. We've kind of once you've seen a player play and you're okay, kind of we know who this is. We need to move on to the next quarterback, type thing. When you talk about the NFL and stuff, it's I feel like that's where you're at. You're all right, I'm over. Which that I think of when we do our Worker Bee series this next off season, that'll be one of the questions. Hey, what is the attitude around the school administration around Derek Mason? Is he on the hot seat? Very similar to when we talked with Steve Irvin and UAB. It's hey, is Trent Dilford on the hot seat? He's yeah. Well, he didn't make it through. When we talked with Kevin Lytle in Colorado State, hey, is Norvell on the hot seat? It's yeah, he is. He didn't make it through the season. So I think we'll get a really good idea here in our Worker Bee series on Derek Mason.
Yeah. For me, like, and I believe in giving people opportunities and chances, but I think at the same time you also need to see some sign of positive progress. And maybe I don't watch Middle Tennessee every week. I've watched them a couple times, and like I don't see any progress. I'd almost argue like there's regression. That they're worse. But maybe some obviously Middle Tennessee administration doesn't necessarily agree with that. But there's also the underlying factor of money, right? Like I have zero idea of what his buyout is, right? And maybe they're in a financial situation where they can't really afford to do that. And so I think especially when you're talking about these G5 programs, that's something that is a factor, right? I think in the near future it's going to be a factor for the P4s too, right? Like you can't keep paying every fired coach $50 million or whatever ungodly amount, when you fire them. You just like they have a lot of money, but it's not necessarily an endless supply of money. But yeah, I don't know. Like, sorry for that might be another bad news scenario. The next two or three, they're not. They're what I would consider good news. So today I attended the ODU, just like every Monday. I attend the ODU football weekly press conference, and I thought it was odd. First of all, there was a 24/7 reporter for Virginia Tech at the press conference. Never been at one of these press conferences all season. Thinking, well, we're not playing Virginia Tech this week. Why is he here? Right? Like, obviously I knew why, but like it's like I don't know. It just felt very weird to me. He didn't ask any questions, and they didn't have to. The local media asked the obvious questions about obviously James Franklin, his former mentor, his former head coach at Penn State, got the Virginia Tech job. And someone posted a rumor, and when I want to say maybe like even calling them someone is giving them too much credit because it's just some random person on the internet, not no one that knows or has sources or is credentialed or a reporter or anything like that, posted on X in the last few days or so that Ricky Ryan is going to be the next offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. In addition to that, they also said Brent Pry was going to be the next defensive coordinator, which, like, come on, like, that's even more ridiculous of a statement, right? The dude just got fired from Virginia Tech. But anyway, so the local media did ask Coach Ronnie about it today, and he answered it differently than I expected him to answer it. I thought the answer would have been, "Hey, we're focused on Saturday. That's all I really care about at this point." But no, he said, "Hey, I love ODU. It's my home. I am thankful for the opportunity I have here. I'm thankful for being able to walk to work every day. There aren't many places in many football head coaching jobs around that you can walk to work." But anyway, he said that he plans to stay at Old Dominion for as long as the head coach, for as long as the Old Dominion administration will allow him to be there. I don't know. It to me, it feels somewhat kind of crazy that he even had to address it. I get that it doesn't make sense, right? Like, why he's a head coach. He was already a coordinator under Franklin at a much more prestigious university. He's now a head coach at a G5 school. Like, you would think, I mean, maybe I could see if it's like the SEC or something. But if he has aspirations to be a head coach at a Power 4 school, you would think like his best ticket there is to have another great year at Old Dominion next year, like he did this year, right? And then someone's going to come call him. So unless he just doesn't want to be a head coach, and we don't know that, right? Like, you see weird things like that. We saw it last year with I can't remember his name, the Georgia State head coach, right? he leaves in the middle of spring practice to go be a tight ends coach at South Carolina. Sure, like that's a very weird circumstance. Ricky Ronnie in no way, shape, or form strikes me as someone that would want to do something like that. Enough about that. Montana State head coach Brent Vigen he's rumored to be a top candidate for the vacant Oregon State job. Supposedly he was there Sunday interviewing for the job. Folks asked him about it, but he wouldn't provide comment. Obviously, like that's why he's there. But it's also been reported that Oregon State's also interested in the recently fired Cal head coach Justin Wilcox. So sounds like they're getting their candidates lined up, and maybe we'll hear something soon out of Oregon State. Reportedly, Conference USA is going to start requiring their member institutions to spend at least $8.25 million over 3 years over a 3-year period in revenue sharing beginning next season. I think you'll probably see something similar from all the conferences where they kind of like establish a, for lack of a better word, a minimum salary cap for their conference. And then the last piece of news before we get to injury stuff is Joey Aguilar recently joined Diego Pavia's junior college lawsuit. And the significance of this lawsuit is it's basically challenging the NCAA to say no JUCO years count. So like an interesting one for this year, I'll tell you, is Samari Collier, the quarterback at Coastal Carolina. If JUCO years count, I think he's out of eligibility. However, if JUCO years don't count, I believe he has 2 more years left. So there's going to be a lot of players in that situation, right? Where 2 years of their 4-year clock could be wiped out with this ruling. So it'll be pretty big. I'll tell you, my personal opinion is NCAA is going to lose it, and it's going to pass. That's what I believe, and so it'd be interesting to obviously, interesting to see how colleges and coaches will handle that, right? If they will proceed like, hey, yeah, this is going to happen, and these guys are going to have more time, or if they take a more conservative approach. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle. But nonetheless, stay tuned to that because that'll be huge news in terms of player eligibility next year. Where there could be a lot of guys that people think are out of eligibility suddenly have 1 or 2 years more because of that lawsuit. Moving on to some injury news. Marshall head coach Tony Gibson said in his weekly Sunbelt press conference that quarterback Carlos Del Rio Wilson is good to go, and he practiced on Sunday. He limped off the field on Saturday in the game against App State, and he was replaced by Zion Turner. He didn't return to the game. Georgia State quarterback Cameron Brown exited the game Saturday after taking a shot to the head while sliding during a scramble. He did not return to the game. Christian Veillere replaced him. They haven't said it, but obviously, it would appear that Cam Brown got a concussion, so he's going to need to clear. If that's the case, he'll need to clear protocol to be able to play in the game against Old Dominion this week. Sticking with Georgia State, wide receiver Ted Hurst, he only played 10 snaps this past Saturday. Supposedly he got an injury during the week last week. The staff said let him test it out during warmups. They said, okay, we'll let you test it out during the game. Apparently they didn't like what they saw in the game, and they said, nah, man, we got to shut you down. So, again, it'd be interesting to see if he plays in the game against Old Dominion on Saturday. App State running back Rashad Dubinion left the game versus Marshall early with injury. And then, obviously, our freshman of the week, Jakari Lewis, took over and was dynamite. San Jose State, my favorite quarterback, Walker Eaget, sustained a leg injury versus a San Jose State quarterback, I should say, sustained a leg injury versus San Diego State. And it doesn't look good for his ability to play on Saturday. Tama Emerson was the quarterback in relief, and he'd be the one you'd expect to get the start, assuming Walker Egan does not play. Wyoming running back Sam Harris was injured in the game and did not return. UTEP running back Ashton Emery went down in the fourth quarter with what appeared to be a knee injury. Some Washington State player news. Running back Leo Plasty got banged up and was limited in the game on Saturday. Offensive lineman Brock Dew got injured in the game and was seen on crutches and in a walking boot afterwards. And Washington State safety Kel Reeder did not play in Week 12. They thought he might play in Week 13, but he did not play once again, out with injury. UMass quarterback A.J. Hairston was forced to leave the game after taking a shot to the shoulder this week. And we'll end with some Hawaii player news. Linebacker Jemai Otis was injured in the game versus UNLV and did not return. The same for defensive back Riddell Edwards. He got injured, did not return. And wide receiver Nick Sinical, who had been injured, he did play in the game versus UNLV, but then he got re-injured. And so looks like he might be out once again. And with that, that's going to do it for our news and notes. Let's jump into the AP Top 25. Once again this week, we got three teams. We got JMU leading the charge for the G5, coming in at number 20, moving up to number 20. North Texas moves up to number 21, and the Green Wave of Tulane jump up to number 22. These are the three G5 representatives in the AP Top 25. Others receiving votes category, you got Navy coming in at number 27 with 44 votes. San Diego State, number 30, 19 votes. UNLV, number 33. And South Florida, number 34 at 4 votes. UConn, number 35 with 3 votes. So that's the AP Top 25. That's not how the College Football Playoff Committee sees it in terms of how they ranked teams last week. They had Tulane as the only ranked team in the G5 and in the College Football Playoff Top 25. Let's talk a little bit about the College Football Playoffs. So a lot of folks, I don't know if they don't understand, they're lazy, or they just want to put bias on the statements they make. But, like you keep hearing, oh, so-and-so is going to get the ACC automatic berth. So-and-so is going to get the Big 12 automatic berth. There's no such thing. That does not exist. Not today. The automatic berths go to the top 5 highest rated conference winners. Now, in theory, I realize this is not ever going to happen in reality, but in theory, those could be all G5 teams, 100%, the way the rules are written today, or the guidelines, I should say. And so, like, there's just no such thing as a berth, an automatic G5 berth. Well, we know at least one of them is going to get in, right? We know that. But in the guidelines, it does not say the G5 is guaranteed an automatic berth. It just says the top 5 highest rated conference winners. So if we look at the college football playoffs, or at least what they were last week, the new rankings will come out tomorrow night. What you see on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube or X, you see we got the percentages, and these are calculated percentages that ESPN does for all the teams to possibly make the college football playoffs. And so they have JMU the highest at 57%, North Texas at 54%, and Tulane at 28%. And you might be asking, well, why is JMU higher? Well, part of the reason is it's very likely North Texas and Tulane are the 2 reps in the American Conference Championship, and they got to play each other. One of them's going to lose. And so obviously those chances that whoever the loser is out, right? And so this calculation factors all that kind of stuff in. But I will say, in terms of like who I think realistically has a shot, these are the 3 right teams. And it's just all going to depend on what happens from in week 14 conference championship game and how it's going to play out. One thing I do want to point out, and we talked about it last year, and I think last year we needed Army and or Navy to beat Notre Dame to kind of make it happen. But last year there was a chance that with Boise State being ranked so high and thought of so highly, there was a chance that two G5 conference championship winners would be ranked higher than the Big 12 winner. We all know how that worked out. It didn't work out. Both Army and Navy lost to Notre Dame, and that kind of squashed the potential chances they had to be ranked higher than the Big 12 championship winner. Well, this year there's a chance it could happen again. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Just because I think that the bias of the media is not going to allow it to happen. But there's a good shot it could happen with the ACC. The best chance would be as if Duke was to win the ACC and a 5-loss team. Now, Duke's chances of making the ACC championship game are pretty slim, but still a possibility. Like, to me, if Duke wins the ACC, I could certainly see 2 G5s. Short of that, I don't think the committee allows it to happen. And it's kind of BS. If you look at both the AP and the coaches poll, only Virginia is ranked higher than the 3 teams you see on the screen: JMU, North Texas, and Tulane. And the AP and both the AP and the coaches poll, Virginia is ranked 17th, Pitt's 24th, and SMU is 25th. Again, both Pitt and SMU are ranked lower than JMU, North Texas, and Tulane. But if we look at last week's college football playoffs rankings, they had Virginia was number 19, Tulane was 24th, and then Pitt and South Florida were in the others receiving votes category. No SMU, no JMU, no North Texas, and then obviously there's no Duke in any of this. I think tomorrow is going to be very telling. Do we see the committee put? I think the likely ACC championship game is going to play out between these 3 teams: Virginia, Pitt, and SMU. Do we see the playoff committee hedge their bets and start putting SMU and Pitt ahead of all the G5s? That way, when whoever wins it, there's no argument about, there's media bias. Do they try to get ahead of it? I think we had the same conversation last year, right? Do they try to prevent those kinds of things? I think they do, right? It's just, I don't know. It's frustrating as a G5 advocate, as a fan of a G5, that there's such a huge media bias. But that's the reality, unfortunately. I don't know how you change it. I don't know how you fix it. I don't think you can. Unfortunately, not in today's world. But it would be awesome to see it play out where Duke wins the ACC, and JMU wins out and wins the Sun Belt, and then either North Texas or Tulane wins the American, and then you get 2 G5 reps in the college football playoffs. You want to talk about people losing their mind? That, my friends, would be entertainment for sure. Anything else? Anything you wanted to add, Luke?
You talked about media bias and whatnot, and just whatever it was, 2 weeks ago or so, Drew Mestemaker was on ESPN talking about his story about, that we've been talking about since last bowl season. Right. I can see that being like, the closest thing to the NCAA March Madness Cinderella story. If they decided that they, put on your tinfoil cap, and they decide that that's like the story that they want. Because like North Texas is a fun team, plus you have that on top of it. That could really help the ratings, I guess.
Yeah. One thing I fully expect to happen, and sorry for JMU fans, like I don't see a path for JMU to make it, simply because, specifically if it's Tulane and North Texas in the American Championship, and whoever wins that game, there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that's who's going to get the bid. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate. I think JMU is just as good as those teams. I think head-to-head, JMU beats Tulane. Head-to-head, North Texas, I think, beats JMU. But that's hypothetical. That's just my own opinion from watching those teams play. But it's a shame, right? Because at the end of the day, at least one good team is going to be left likely at the altar, so to speak, and not going to get that berth. And I think given the situation with the ACC, I think it deserves to be discussed more than it is. It's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind. If JMU and UVA were to play, who's going to win that game? It's JMU. Like they could play 10 times, and I think JMU wins 9 out of 10 times. But that's JMU doesn't play in the ACC, unfortunately. So yeah, it just sucks, but that's the world as it exists today. Wish it could change. Wish there was other alternatives. I think the playoffs are going to get bigger. That's what's going to happen. But I don't know that the playoffs. I don't know that there'll ever be a situation where they say, "Hey, all 10 next year would be 11 conference winners get an automatic berth." I don't think that'll ever happen. I would hope if they expand again that they at least make room so it's possible for 2 of group of 5 schools. In other words, today they have 5 automatic berths for conference winners. They at least make it 6. That would be I feel like that's the best you can hope for. And it sucks. It sucks, but that's the college football world we are in today. All right, enough about that. Let's get to our G5 top 25. These are our votes as submitted to the Hero Sports G5 top 25 media consensus poll. For those listening in audio format, I'm going to run down the teams real quick on the screen. Number 1, we got JMU. Number 2, North Texas. Number 3, Tulane. 4, Navy. 5, South Florida. 6, 6, San Diego State. Number 7, Memphis. Number 8, East Carolina. 9, Old Dominion. 10, UNLV. 11, Connecticut. 12, New Mexico. 13, Hawaii. 14, Kennesaw State. 15, Western Kentucky. 16, Western Michigan. 17, Southern Miss. 18, Central Michigan. 19, Jacksonville State. Number 20, Toledo. Number 21, Fresno State. 22, Boise State. 23, Troy. 24, Missouri State. And rounding out our top 25 at number 25, the Ohio Bobcats. A lot of strange games this week, especially when you get down further in the rankings. You get past, say number 6 or so. Looking at comparing our rankings to the consensus, the Hero Sports media poll. So the biggest difference, there's one team that we do not have ranked that is ranked in the consensus G5 top 25 poll, and that is UTSA at number 22. I don't know. I can't argue with that. Obviously we've seen it. UTSA can beat any team, or has beaten. They've beaten number 3. They've beaten number 8, right? But they've also lost to some pretty bad teams too. So UTSA, I feel like UTSA could probably beat any of these teams. They could also lose to every single one of these teams. So I can't argue.
They're also just a different team at home than they are on the road. They are definitely you catch them at home that's going to be a tough game. On the road, they seem to be like Swiss cheese.
So obviously one team in the Hero Sports top 25, there's got to be one of our teams that isn't ranked in the consensus poll, and that is Missouri State. They come in at number 24 for us. The biggest differences in our poll, so teams we are lower than. The second one's going to be interesting because we flipped the script on this second one. First one's Boise State. Ever since the MACtion injury, we've been lower than this consensus poll. We have them at 22. Consensus has them at 15, 7-spot difference. And then this next one is, like I said, this is one that up until maybe a week or two ago, we were consistently higher on than the consensus poll. But now we're significantly lower than the consensus poll, and that's Ohio. We have them at 25. The consensus has them at 19. 6-spot difference. They do not look good, man. I watched the game against UMass. Yeah, I get it. Like the weather wasn't great, but I've watched their last 2 or 3 games, and they haven't looked good. Do they win? Okay, yeah, but like they do not look like a good football team. Parker Navarro, like it's amazing to me. He looks like he looked kind of in the maybe even worse than he did in the beginning of 2024 when they were, and he looked so bad. There were times he got sacked, and then by the end of the 2024 season, the dude was lights out. Man, he lost that magic. Like passing the ball is just atrocious. So yeah, that's those are the teams we're lower than. There's 3 teams that we are a lot higher on than that consensus poll. The first one is Southern Miss. We have them at 17. The consensus has them at 23. 6-spot difference. The loss 2 weeks ago, I don't think we dinged them too much. There was no Braylon Braxton, right? However, the loss this week, they did, Braylon Braxton was there. They lost to a South Alabama team. And so, yeah, we dinged them a little bit. I still expect them to be the Sun Belt West winner. The other team that we are also 6 spots difference in is Central Michigan. We have them at 18. They have them at 24. That team does not play sexy football. Like it is just ugly. It's not sexy. It's not fun football. But they play good football. Like they're gonna run the ball down your throat and play really, really good defense.
Central Michigan is who I would want as a friend. Central Michigan is. I get into a bar fight. I get mouthy. They're who I want next to me. They're a team that I go into an alleyway and I'm outmatched like 4-1. I want by my side. You just throw them in any scenario, they're gonna figure it out and get out of there alive. That's what Central Michigan is.
Yeah, absolutely. The last team that we are higher on than consensus is East Carolina. We have them at 8. The consensus has them at 13. The consensus really punished them for that loss to UTSA. Okay, if that's what you want to do, fine. Then why isn't Tulane punished? Right? They lost worse to that same UTSA team. And so UTSA is a team, like we just said a few minutes ago, they can beat anybody. They can also lose to anybody on any given week. And so, they're not in my opinion, they're not a terrible team. They were a team that we thought, at least from an offensive perspective, would be right there near the top of the American. Now they've been inconsistent. That's the issue, right? There's been weeks where we've seen that offense, and there's been a lot of weeks where we haven't. And so I don't know. I can't ding East Carolina too much for one game, given their fairly solid body of work throughout the year. Anything you want to add, Luke?
That ECU loss I just took was very similar to the UAB win over Memphis. It was just like a hiccup. Like I didn't ding them a whole bunch. I just thought it was a game that happened.
At least UTSA is like a much better team than UAB. But yeah, I mean, like that happens, right? And like I don't know, I think the consensus poll just they dinged East Carolina a bit too much for that loss to UTSA.
All right. Are you ready to do week 13 in review and take a look at our week 14 matchups by conferences? We'll talk about our conference championships and some bowl teams.
Yeah, let's do it.
So week 13, Saturday game, Washington State at number 21 James Madison. That will be covered in the Sun Belt coverage. So let's jump ahead to week 14 preview in our Saturday game, de facto Pac-12 championship part dose. We've got Oregon State at Washington State, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Oregon State won that first matchup. Washington State needs a win to get to bowl eligibility. They won the first matchup 10-7. It was a barn burner. So it's tough to beat a same team twice in a season. But that first game was technically not a conference game, so it all comes down to this one.
You know, the what the Pac-12 should have did, and this would have been awesome. They should have went to Dos Equis, right, and been like, "Hey, will you sponsor this game? We're called the Dos Equis Pac-12 Championship. Go for Dos, right? Like it just like it's too perfect, right? I'm like, come on, Pac-12, what are you doing? Like make that happen, right? Like if I was the Pac-12 commissioner, I'd be all over that. Like, just like, I don't know. It just seems like some random publicity that you could drum up for the Pac-12 that, you know, I would think like, I mean, obviously don't, you're not going to like try and gouge Dos Equis to, you know, pay a lot of money for it. But, you know, I don't know. It just seems like something cool to get folks talking about the Pac-12. And then you could roll that into, you know, what's going to happen for the Pac-12 next season with all those other teams joining, et cetera. I don't know. Just call me crazy. Seems like a big missed opportunity for the Pac-12 to not do that. This game, Washington State's what they favored by, is it 12.5? At least I thought that's what it was when I looked earlier today or yesterday. I expect
favored by 13.5.
13.
Over under set at 14.5, or over under set at 42.5. So I would take the under.
Yeah, obviously I'm take the under in that game. I mean, the first game was 10-7 at Oregon State. This game's in Pullman. I expect Washington State to win, and I don't know if they win by 13 with a 13.5. I can see them winning by 10.
I mean, the big thing here is you've got some big injuries for Washington State on the defensive side of the ball. Plus, you've got two different quarterbacks starting than they had just a couple weeks ago when they faced off. So while it's a different game, or while it's the same two teams, it is a different game this go around. But I do like Washington State. I'll take the under overall.
Yeah, and like you said, Washington State needs this game to get to that 6 wins. I don't know if the Pac-12 still has any kind of bowl tie-ins, given that they only have the two teams. I don't know. I think as of this week, there's 10 teams short. I think there's 72 bowl eligible teams and there's 82 spots. Having said that, I think there are 20 teams that can get to bowl eligibility in week 14. Obviously, some of those teams play each other, so it's not like all 20, but it's not all 10 play each other either. I know that. I know, like in the Sun Belt, I think there's at least 2 matchups where there's both teams are 5-5. Yeah, Washington State the under, I think, is the play. The interesting thing is, like, who's going to call themselves the Pac-12 champion? Like, I don't think it really matters, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Fly the banners. Fly the banners. Let's get on to UConn, our Week 13 in review against FAU. That will be covered here shortly in the American. A reminder, UConn is bowl eligible. They have a bye this week, and they do not play. So let's hit up Conference USA. Our Week 13 in review, Delaware at Wake Forest, a G5 versus P4 matchup. Not much to cover here in this one as Wake Forest steamrolled Delaware, 122 total yards for Delaware at the half, and it was 35-7. Delaware would end with 300 total yards, 577 total yards of offense for Wake Forest. They win this one by a final of 52-14. Missouri State at Kennesaw State. This one was a fun one, but let's jump right into the fourth. Odom gave Kennesaw State a 34-27 lead on a 25-yard connection with Clayton Kapak with 5:51 left in the fourth, but Missouri State answered 2 plays later when Shamari Lawrence, friend of the podcast, raced for a 70-yard touchdown to tie it at 34-all. After Kennesaw State went 3 and out, Missouri State drove past midfield before being stopped on 4th and 10 at the 34. After a Kennesaw State 3 and out and a Missouri State turnover on downs, Odom started the next drive with a 7-yard rush, followed with a 40-yard completion to Christian Moss to set up a play that would end up being the game winner. Odom would dance around the pocket before drifting back, lob it to the front of the end zone for a wide open Bletcher. Kennesaw State wins 41-34. The touchdown to Bletcher set a school record for touchdown passes in a game with 5. Odom was 24 of 34 for 387 yards and my offensive player of the week for Week 13. Liberty at Louisiana Tech. This one we had extra football. The action starts here in the third, midway through the third. It's 28-7 Liberty, just chugging along for Liberty. Then Louisiana Tech would score a touchdown. Then Jakari Foster would intercept Ethan Vasco. Louisiana Tech would go on a 96-yard drive that would take us into the fourth and cut the lead to 7. Then Ethan Vasco would throw another INT, this time by Michael Richard. Louisiana Tech would score another touchdown to tie things up at 28 with 7:05 left in the game. Like I said, extra football for this one. In overtime, Liberty would get the ball first, and your boy, Jakari Foster, would get his second interception. 2 timely interceptions by Jakari Foster made him my defensive player of the week in Week 13. Then Louisiana Tech's first touch, and they rushed for a 25-yard touchdown, and Louisiana Tech pulls this one after being down 21. They win this one 34-28. 4 of Liberty's last 5 drives would end in an interception. Sam Houston versus Middle Tennessee. Too much Roman Gagliano for the Bearcats. It was tied at 10 at the half, and then Roman Gagliano would throw a 19-yard touchdown pass to Jaquel Middlebrook and rush for 2 touchdowns in the second half to lead the Blue Raiders to a 31-17 victory over Sam Houston. Roman was 21 of 34 for 268 yards, 1 touchdown, while having 9 rushes for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. New Mexico State at UTEP. All UTEP early in this one. They were up 21-0 after the first quarter. The UTEP defense would force 2 turnovers, 1 interception, 1 fumble. Then it was all New Mexico State in the second quarter as they scored 21 points to tie things up going into the half. Heading into the fourth, we're still all tied up, this time at 24. New Mexico would get a field goal to go up 3 after a UTEP 3 and out. New Mexico would also struggle to move the ball, but they were able to pin UTEP at the 3-yard line on a punt. While they're up 3, 4:19 left, UTEP would drive the ball 97 yards and cap off the drive with a Locklear to Kenny Odom, 28-yard touchdown pass to go up 31-27 with 56 seconds left. UTEP would kick it deep, and Adam DeMonte would complete 3 big completions, and Dion Staley would break off a 25-yard run to get the Aggies down to the 10-yard line with 29 seconds left. After an incompletion, DeMonte would find his friend, and it would find the friend of a podcast, TK King for a 10-yard touchdown, and that would be your game winner. New Mexico State steals this one 34-31 on the road, especially after UTEP was up 21-0 after one. Big win there for New Mexico State. Jacksonville State, FIU, Caden Creel and Cam Cook have been everything for this Jacksonville State team this year. However, on Saturday, a fumble by each of them in the fourth quarter would keep the Gamecocks from locking up a spot in the CUSA title game. Jacksonville State would be upset by FIU. Cam Cook, Caden Creel combined for 44 rushing attempts, 238 yards, and 1 touchdown, while Creel added 198 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. What proved to be the difference maker in this one was one of those fumbles by Caden Creel. FIU would hit a splash play for a 64-yard pass play from Joe Pizzinski to Alex Perry. The touchdown would put the Panthers up 24-21, and they would win by that final. And then probably the surprise of the late night was Western Kentucky LSU. G5 versus P4. Western Kentucky was killed in terms of total yards, as they were only able to muster up 152 yards, while LSU had 328. I call that great for WKU and that defense on the night, holding LSU to 328 yards. Despite the yardage differential in this game, it was close throughout. First quarter, all Western Kentucky. In the second, Western Kentucky had missed opportunities as they would intercept Van Buren Jr., march down the field. They had first and goal from the LSU 6, but would turn it over on downs. LSU would then turn it back over on downs to Western Kentucky at the WKU 42, and on 4th and 1 at the LSU 38, Western Kentucky would turn it over on downs again. LSU would turn that into 7 points as Van Buren would find Trades Green for an 11-yard touchdown to go up 7-3 with 1:32 left in the first half. Following a Western Kentucky interception about halfway point in the third, LSU would convert that into 3 points, up 10-3 now. And at the beginning of the fourth, LSU would tack on another 3 points to go up 10. With about a minute left to go in the game, LSU running back Harlem Berry would fumble, and Dylan Flowers would return 71 yards to the house, and they're now down 3 with 1:17 left. Western Kentucky would try an onside kick, but were unsuccessful, and LSU wins this one 13-10. Bowl eligibility. 2 teams to add this week. We have FIU and Louisiana Tech. So now, bowl eligible teams, we have Western Kentucky, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, the newly minted Louisiana Tech and FIU bowl eligible teams with an asterisk by a Missouri State. I have enough wins to be there, but with being new to the conference, not technically eligible. So only 5 teams bowl eligible. If Missouri State gets what they're fighting for, and that'll be 6. So
FIU, that's kind of I don't have first time in 9 seasons, I want to say something like that. That might not be right, but it's been a long time since Florida International has been bowl eligible. So kudos to Florida International and the Panthers on a great first year under new head coach.
And Keon Jenkins has been hurt for the last 3 weeks. So Joe's done great. And this has been the hardest team for me to decipher this year because I just don't know which team is going to show up.
Right.
A little Jekyll and Hyde team.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are consistently inconsistent. So let's look ahead to week 14. All Saturday games here as we have UTEP at Delaware, 1 p.m. Eastern. Delaware favored by 5.5 points. Over under set at 45.5. I would take the over 54.5 points. Delaware kind of seemed to lose some gas here towards the end of the season. UTEP has been pretty consistent at putting up points. I think Delaware's defense is pretty porous overall. I think UTEP can easily put up 24, 28, 30 some points on this defense, and I think Delaware can also hang in there. But I think I would take UTEP to cover the 5.5.
Interesting.
If I have to pick one of them, I think I'm going to take the over 54.5 though.
I think I would take Delaware to cover the 5.5. But to your point, yeah, I mean, I can see it the other way as well. Delaware gets this win; they get to 6 wins, technically bowl eligible, but they kind of fall in the same scenario as Missouri State. Really, the only way that either Missouri State or Delaware can get to a bowl is that there aren't enough bowl eligible teams. Stupid rule. Don't agree with it, but nonetheless, it is the rule. But yeah, it'd be a great first season in the FBS for both those teams to basically have a 500 season. Like, it'd be hard to ask for more, I think, in your first year. So kudos to both of them. At least have an opportunity to do it. So, but yeah, give me, if I'm picking something, give me Delaware minus the 5.5 points.
All right. Then we have FIU at Sam Houston, 1 p.m. Eastern. FIU favored by 10.5 points on the road, over under set at 51.5. I'm going to lay the points with FIU. I think actually 10.5 ain't enough. Give me this Bearcats defense isn't great. Joe's been on fire tossing the ball. I think he's got like eight touchdowns in the last 3 games. I think he tears it up. I think Keelan Owens does his thing on the ground. Panthers win big in this one. I'll lay the points with FIU.
For me, this is an avoid because I just like we just talked about. You don't know what. I mean, I agree with you. That's what should happen, but is that the FIU team that's going to show up on Saturday? I don't know. Sam Houston's not really fighting for anything other than pride. They can't get the bowl eligibility. They only have 2 total wins, only 1 in conference. I think FIU wins the game, but from a betting perspective, it's probably an avoid. You look for Alex Perry and Joe Pasansky to have big games once again. They've been lighting it up for the last couple of weeks, and like Luke said, the Sam Houston defense is pretty porous.
So I now that I have conviction on FIU loses. That's just what happens. All right, Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. This one will be a fun game. Western Kentucky favored by 2.5 points on the road, over under set at 55.5. I'm going to avoid this one. I just want to watch it because it's going to be great football.
It's a win and you're in. Whoever wins this game is in the Conference USA Championship game. So big game for both teams. I'm with Luke. I don't think I want to bet on this game, but it should be one hell of a game to watch. Should be a barn burner. Western Kentucky with Rodney Tisdale Jr. at quarterback has looked like a different team. And so, yeah, it's Rodney Tisdale Jr. and the Hilltoppers against Cam Cook and Caden Creel. We saw that Western Kentucky defense play really well against LSU, right? Like, can they do it in a week where they got to stop the run? Because that's what Jacksonville State's going to want to do. Again, great game, barn burner of a game. Definitely one to tune into, and like I said, see who's going to automatically make it to that Conference USA Championship game.
All right, and then we got Louisiana Tech at Missouri State. Missouri State favored by 2.5 points, over under set at 51.5. Missouri State's just been playing really good football this year. I'm going to lay the points with Missouri 2.5. Gives you your field goal. I like that. If it was 3.5, it might be a little bit tougher decision, but at 2.5, I'm going to get Missouri State there at home.
I agree with you. I think Jacob Clark, senior day there for him. He'll have that extra emotions and They'll be living it up and leading Missouri State to victory. That'll be their 8th victory on the year. They'll be 8. If they win, they'll finish 8-4. What an incredible first year in the FBS for Missouri State. I don't think you could have scripted it much better than how it went. In terms
Especially
of the win,
when I'm trying to remember the title that they lost.
Lance Mason.
Yeah, they lose Lance Mason just not too long before the season really started, and like he was going to be their kind of go-to guy. They figured it out. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Louisiana Tech's had a good year too, but they've just been crushed by injuries, right? Like quarterback, linebacker. It's kind of really crushed them and kind of derailed their season, from a championship contender standpoint. But kudos to them. They have still found ways to win games, and so you would think a lot of teams like losing, your leader on both the offensive and defensive side, a lot of teams would kind of pack it in. Louisiana Tech keeps fighting, and kudos to them for another outstanding year, especially considering the injuries.
All right, then we've got Middle Tennessee at New Mexico State. New Mexico State favored by 4.5 points, over under set at 53.5. I think if I'm going to do anything in this, I'm going to take the over 53.5. The average score for college football is about 55. Middle Tennessee has looked better with Roman Gagliano under center. Gives them a little bit different dynamic there. Shaquille Middlebrook. I'm like thinking about it now. I'm like, I just don't want to bet anything on this one, but I think if I have to, I'll bet the over 53.5.
For me, I think I take Middle Tennessee and lay the points for the reasons you outlined. I think the two best players are on Middle Tennessee on the offensive side, and Gagliano and Shaquille Middlebrook. I think they're the two best players on offense. Defense, you got two really great defensive linemen, and DeMonte Smith and Ezra Christensen, both interior defensive tackles, two of the best in the G5. Again, this is a pride game. There's no bowl eligibility in it for either team. New Mexico can get to 5 wins. Middle Tennessee can get to 3. But give me Middle Tennessee laying the 4.5 points.
All right, and then the next big matchup in the conference, ESPN says you can get tickets as low as $11 for this one, is what they say. Kennesaw State at Liberty, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Kennesaw State favored by 2.5 points, over under set at 54.5. I'm going to lay the points with Kennesaw State. 2.5 is not low, like it's not big enough. It needs to be 3.5 before it really gets me worried. Liberty going to run the heck out of the ball. Kennesaw State going to run the heck out of the ball. They're going to take their shots. I think this is probably a game that actually goes faster because there's going to be so much running it with Dickens and Omari Odom. Give me Kennesaw State in this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a win and you're in game for Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State beats Liberty. They are in the Conference USA Championship. That seems weird to say, right? Like, given the year they had a year ago, where their coach got fired mid-season. Regardless, hell of a year for the Kennesaw State Owls, right? Like that Veer and Hoot offense, especially when they unleashed Omari Odom, has really been kicking into gear. We saw what Omari Odom did last week. The Liberty defense is not good. I think Kennesaw State's going to be up for the challenge, man. Liberty is not really playing for anything other than pride. After losing last week, they can't get the bowl eligibility. And so, I mean, really, they're just playing to be spoiler, potentially. But I agree with you. I think Kennesaw State's going to be, hyped up. They're going to have the Veer and Hoot on full display, and they're going to take down the Flames in Lynchburg on Saturday.
Well, Justice, what do we have for a Conference USA Championship scenario?
This is probably one of the most straightforward ones. Well, no, Sunbelt's way more straightforward. I take that back. But this one is fairly straightforward. As we said, Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State play each other. The winner of that game is in, 100%. Kennesaw State wins. They are in. That's the easy part of it. Now, let's say if Kennesaw State loses and Jacksonville State loses, well, Jacksonville State gets in. They own the tiebreaker. They beat Kennesaw State head-to-head. That's the easy scenario. So Kennesaw State loses, we could potentially get a rematch of the game this week.
Which that would be the exact same scenario as
happened last year.
The two teams played each other, which were Jacksonville State
and Western
Kentucky, and they played each other. Yep.
And remember, Jacksonville State lost in the regular season, and then they smoked them in the championship game. So we could have a 100% a repeat. Where things get weird is if Kennesaw State loses and Western Kentucky loses, it's a bit more complicated. Those two teams did not play each other in the regular season. And so then you have to go through all these tiebreakers. So one of the tiebreakers is who's ranked higher by the College Football Playoff Committee. Well, that's not going to happen, right? Neither of these two teams are going to be ranked by the College Football Playoff Committee. So what would happen, what the most likely scenario is, if Western Kentucky and Kennesaw State both lose, it goes to the average ranking across the Connolly S&P Plus, the Sports Source model, ESPN's SOR model, and KPI rankings. So it just basically goes to the computers, and the computers determine who is it going to be. I really hope it doesn't come to that. I hope Kennesaw State wins, because then they get in, and then whoever wins the other game is going to get in. Hopefully that's the way it plays out. We'll see. If I had to pick, that's how I think it plays out. I think Kennesaw State wins. I don't know that I feel comfortable making a prediction between Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State. I guess if I had to, I'd pick Western Kentucky. But
you got to go with Western Kentucky. They were our pick in the preseason.
They were our preseason pick. You're right.
So I go with them.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably what I hope happens. Western Kentucky versus Kennesaw State. I just hope that it's decided on the field and doesn't go to the computers and to decide who wins the Conference USA, or who makes it to the Conference USA championship game.
All right, now let's get to the fun conference here. We have the American Conference, Week 13. Let's talk about our games in review. We had our Saturday games of Tulsa versus Army. After three quarters, it was 25-14 Army. What really held Tulsa in this quarter, they had two fumbles. However, Army was not able to capitalize on those, as they did not score any points. In the fourth, there would be a momentum shift as Tulsa would hit a field goal to cut the lead to 8. Then 2 plays later, Lenta Smith Jr. would intercept Cale Helms with 3:34 left in the game. 40 yards later, Baylor Hayes would find Josh Smith for an 8-yard touchdown. They would not get the 2-point conversion. Tulsa's down 25-23 with 1:53 left. Tulsa would go for an onside kick. However, Army would recover. Tulsa only had 2 timeouts. They would use them on a 4th and 3 on the Tulsa 39. Army would go for it, get stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Tulsa takes over on downs with 1:40 left. They're down to, on the back of Dominic Richardson. Tulsa would find themselves at the Army 9 with 15 seconds left. Seth Morgan would come on for a 26-yard field goal attempt, puts it through the uprights, and Tulsa wins this one 26-25. Charlotte at number 4, Georgia in a G5 versus P4 game. Not much to talk about here. Georgia rolls 35-3. They were up 28-3 at the half. Georgia had 449 yards of total offense compared to Charlotte's 169. Charlotte would not get into Georgia territory until 48 seconds left of the first half when Gunnar Stockton threw an interception to Jacarius Conley, who took it to the 39-yard line of Georgia. Charlotte would not get into Georgia territory again until about 8-minute mark left when Loftus found Mason for a 38-yard pass play, which got the 49ers to the Georgia 21. However, that drive would end in a Loftus interception. South Florida versus UAB. This was a back and forth in the first half. USF would take a 17-10 lead into the half. The first play of the second half was a 60-yard touchdown pass from Brown to Rubin. The Bulls are now up 24-10, following a Kitna interception, his third of the day, and a turnover on downs. South Florida would score 10 points after those turnovers and go up 34-10. South Florida would tack on another 14 points and win this one 48-18. UConn, FAU. This one was a fun one. All UConn after one. It was 24-3 in favor of UConn. After a 39-yard Messer rushing touchdown and a 17-yard Veldkamp rushing touchdown, the Owls are within 7, but the Huskies would score 3 to go up 10 into the half. FAU would own the third as they would score 14 points. UConn would score 7 to make it 34-31. UConn leading heading into the fourth, and then Caden Shields-Dutton would fumble at the UConn 29. UConn would turn that turnover into 7 points to go up 10. FAU would respond with a Veldkamp to Messer touchdown from 33 yards out to cut the lead to 3. And on a side note, Messer has been tearing it up the last 2-3 weeks and been very quiet up to that point. UConn would be forced to punt. FAU would capitalize as Veldkamp would rush another one in for his second on the day. This would put the Owls up 45-41 with 2:11 left, but that's too much time for Joe Fagano and the Huskies, if you ask me. UConn will march down the field for 75 yards in 1 minute and 49 seconds to take the lead on a 1 yard Cam Edwards touchdown run for a 48-45 lead with 26 seconds to go. UConn kicks it off to Jay-Sean Platt, who returns to 11 yards. Plus, UConn grabbed the face mask for an additional 15-yard penalty. It's 1st and 10 from the FAU 26. Veldkamp would complete a 27 and a 29-yard pass to set up Garrison Smith for the game-tying 36-yard field goal. And let me tell you, that wasn't even close. UConn escapes after blowing a 21-point first-quarter lead. Joe Fagano with 33 of 46 for 446 yards, 3 touchdowns. Cam Edwards had 2 rushing touchdowns and 101 on the ground. That one was a entertaining game. ECU at UTSA. We talked about this earlier, but UTSA would score on 5 of their 6 first-half possessions, while ECU would punt 4 times, fumble once, and kick 1 field goal. It was 34-3 at the half. Owen McCowan would throw 3 touchdowns in the first half. UTSA would score on 3 of their 6 second-half possessions and score a defensive touchdown as the Road Runners dismantled the Pirates 58-24. Owen McCowan threw for 5 touchdowns, and redshirt freshman, I think it is, Will Henderson ran for 146 yards. Number 24, Tulane at Temple. After a close first quarter, Tulane would start to pull away in the second as they outscored Temple by 10. They're now up 13, more of the same in the third, but only 6 points were scored as Tulane was only able to score 2 field goals, but they're now up 19. After Temple scored a touchdown in the fourth, Tulane would respond with a touchdown of their own as Jake Ratzlaff found Justin Reed for a 4-yard touchdown to go up 21 with about 10 minutes to go, and Tulane wins this one 37-13 as they're one step closer to an AAC championship appearance. Number 22, North Texas at Rice. Rice was up 14 points and kind of a shocker at one point in this game, but North Texas would score 42 unanswered points as they were up 42-14 with 3:14 left in the third. North Texas cruises in this one, 56-24. Drew Mestemaker was 19 of 23 for 469 yards and 3 touchdowns while adding another one on the ground. His favorite target of the night was the Justice's Offensive Player of the Week, Wyatt Young, who had 8 receptions on 9 targets for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Man, I got to watch this game. It was a fun game to watch. And man, like Drew Mestemaker is good. He is so good. I hate to say this because I don't want it to happen, but I feel like someone's gonna pay Drew Mestemaker. He's gonna be Drew Moneymaker. He's someone in the P4 is gonna offer Drew a lot of money. Maybe he won't take it. I don't know. Obviously, they can lose their head coach too, right? Like, there's a lot of smoke of Eric Morris maybe going to Oklahoma State, for instance. Got to feel like if that happens, Drew likely follows. But man, Drew Mestemaker is just so good. I mean, he has such a quick release. He has a strong arm. He has great vision. He can throw it downfield. He's mobile. I think I told Luke this when I was watching this game. I said, I feel that Drew Mestemaker is going to be playing in the NFL. And that's just remarkable for, like, you know, like we talked about earlier, his story, right? Didn't play, only started one game in college, and that was for the 9th grade B team. You know, one game in his high school career, I should say. He was a walk-on at North Texas. He was a walk-on as a defensive back. He won the backup quarterback job last year over, you know, Cash McCollum, who was I think a 3-star recruit for them, and then with Chandler Morris sitting out the bowl game, Drew Mestemaker got the start, making his first start since that 9th grade B team start, and he played lights out in that bowl game, man. And they bring in Reese Poffenbarger, and you know, Drew Mestemaker, you know, shows he's the man, and it's just an incredible story, man. Like it you know, the dude's gonna go to the NFL and they're gonna write movies about him one day, buddy, because the kid's talented. He's super talented.
Some would call this like the Kurt Warner story of college football.
Well, that's what I was thinking of, right? Like kind of like, but unlike Kurt Warner, I don't. Yeah, I mean, like Kurt obviously didn't get, you know, he was, you know, didn't make it high in the college level. He was kind of, to Luke's point, he worked his way through Arena League. Drew, you know,
he went to University of Northern Iowa, not too far here, Cedar Falls, Iowa. Bag and Groceries at Fairway, a local grocery store here.
He played for was the Iowa Bombers. Is that who they were in the Arena League?
Iowa Barnstormers.
Barnstormers.
They're in Des Moines, Iowa.
There you go.
So, yeah. All right. Bowl eligibility. We had one team added to this slide, and that's UTSA. So now we have North Texas, Memphis, Tulane, UTSA, USF, ECU, and Navy. That is 7 teams that are bowl eligible from the American. Let's dive into our week 14 previews. Thursday game, we have Navy at Memphis, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Memphis favored by 5.5 points. Over under set at 59.5. I don't.
It's
really
a tough one.
Like, yeah, I think I'm going to stay clear of this one. I don't want to do anything on this one.
Yeah, it's just going to be a good game. I mean, Navy needs to win this game, obviously, to have a shot at the American Conference championship game. I personally don't think, win or lose, that they're going to get in to the American championship. But yeah, they need it to happen. But it's going to be a fun game to watch, right? Like, just tune in. You know, it's the final game of Blake Horvath, final game for Brendan Lewis, Cortez Braham for the Memphis Tigers. Should be a fun, exciting game on a Thursday night. I don't think there's any other games on Thursday, or not any other college games, I should say. Obviously, Thanksgiving there's NFL games. but should be a fun, entertaining game for the American, putting two of the better teams in the American on display for the nation. Yeah, tune in and watch an exciting game. I'm with Luke. Man, I guess if I had to bet something, I think I'd take the over. I don't feel comfortable enough to. I don't really have a lean. I think who's going to win the game. But if I had to pick something, I'm going to take the over 59.5.
If I had to pick something, I would take Navy and the points because the game is on Thanksgiving and they're just a much more disciplined team. They're not going to be eating all this stuff. Maybe Memphis is a little bit sluggish. Maybe some guys ate too much turkey. Maybe they ate a little bit too much at lunchtime or something. Maybe they celebrated the day before. Navy will be locked in. That's, galaxy braining that. Let's move over to Friday game. Temple at number 21, North Texas. 3:30 p.m. Eastern on this one. North Texas favored by 21.5. Over under set at 65.5. Man, this was like a trap game for North Texas because Temple is just a good football team. Casey Keeler coached the heck out of Temple. I think 21.5 is a very, very large number. But North Texas is rolling, and I could definitely see them covering that. But I think I'm going to go with Temple. I think 21.5 is too big. I'm going to have they cover the points there.
Man, I think I hear you. I think Temple is a solid team. I don't know they lose by 21.5. I think if I had to, I think I'd be more comfortable taking the over, but probably just an avoid for me. I don't think it's going to be a letdown game in terms of North Texas maybe losing the game. I think they're going to be jacked up and they're going to win the game and make it to the American. And if I'm predicting, I think North Texas is your rep, like we said earlier in the college football playoff. I think they beat Tulane, and they're the team that gets in to the college football playoff. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them against. I don't know who they're going to play. I haven't paid that close attention to the Power Four and what those rankings look like, but I think they at least have a shot at pulling off a potential upset, at least in the first round anyway. So, yeah, give me North Texas to win, and I'd probably, like I said, just lean towards taking the over.
All right, let's move into our Saturday games. ECU at FAU, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. ECU favorite.
One thing real quick. Go back to that game real quick. Temple, if they win, can get the bowl eligibility. So that it's not like they're not playing for anything. That'd be a hell of a season, hell of a job by Casey Keeler, right, to get the bowl eligibility in his first year there at Temple. I don't think it's going to happen for him, but the fact that it's even a conversation just tells you how remarkable of a job Casey Keeler's done there in week one for the Temple House.
All right, back to ECU at FAU. 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. ECU favored by 6.5 points. Over under set at 66.5. I honestly think that's too big of a number because I think ECU's defense is going to come to play here. I'm going to lay the points with ECU in that 6.5. I think that they win by more than a touchdown. So give me ECU in this one.
Man, I'd say generally I would agree with you, but then I look at the results from last week, right, and how UTSA kind of torched them. I don't know. I look for maybe a shootout here, and to me, I would take the over. I do think East Carolina wins. They're the better team, definitely the more complete team. The FAU defense is not good at all, but the offense has been on fire the last couple of weeks, and they maybe they can keep that going and give them some momentum to build upon in 2026.
All right, UAB at Tulsa, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Tulsa favored by 9.5. Over under set at 59.5. In this one, I think I'll take over 59.5. UAB has that ability to be in shootouts. I think they can easily put up 20, 24 points in this one. Tulsa also, I think they lean on Dominic Richardson. They can, pass it around. I don't know how well UAB does against the slot, but I assume Foley's going to have a great game as a tight end option there for Tulsa. So I think Tulsa wins this game, but give me over 59.5.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. I think I agree with you on those on the bets and the points. The points about Tulsa winning. Neither team can get to bowl eligibility. Tulsa can get to 5 wins. Again, a great job there by Trey Lamb in his first year there for the Golden Hurricanes to get to 5 wins. Got a big win over Oklahoma State P4. So yeah, he's got Tulsa headed in the right direction, and we'll see what comes with for UAB in terms of a head coach in 2026.
All right, Army at UTSA, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. UTSA favored by 7.5. Over under set at 52.5. I don't like over unders with Army right now because they can just hold the ball for an entire quarter. Seen it happen multiple times this year. Like I said, UTSA, different team at home than they are on the road. They are at home on this one, so I will lay the points with UTSA in the 7.5. Don't feel great about it, but I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm gonna take Army in the points. Army's fighting for bowl eligibility. They have to win this game because the Army-Navy game cannot get them to bowl eligibility. It happens too late in the year. So Army has to win this game to get to bowl eligibility. That UTSA defense is so porous. I think Kel Helms has a huge day, and he leads Army to victory in a close one. Give me Army in the 7.5 points. And like I said, I think Army wins this game outright to get to bowl eligibility.
All right, Rice at South Florida, 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff. South Florida favored by 27.5. Over under set at 59.5. I'm going to lay the points with USF in the 27.5. It's a very, very, very large number, but I think USF can do it. They're going to try to do some style points here. Rice can hang in there, but ultimately, I think what we saw last week from Rice is very similar styles here with North Texas and USF. So give me the Bulls. I'll lay the points there at the 27.5.
I agree with you on all accounts. So the only thing I will add is that Rice, if they do win, can get to bowl eligibility. Don't see it happening, but regardless, Scotty Bell, phenomenal job he's done at Rice in year one, installing his version of the triple option offense there for the Rice Owls. Be excited to see. I feel like I saw more than I expected this year, and I think there can be even a bigger jump in that system in year 2. So looking forward to seeing that for the Rice Owls, and kind of like what we talked about with Temple, right? With the Owls teams, the fact that Rice can become bowl eligible this week, that's speaks to the job there that Coach Abel's done there at Rice in year 1.
All right, and then Charlotte at number 22, Tulane, 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Tulane favored by 30.5 points. Over under set at 52.5. I'm going to stay clear of this one. 30.5 is a large number. I get Tulane will easily win this one. 52.5 is a large number because Tulane's going to have to probably score about 48 of those points. I would assume and 30.5 is just a large number. Georgia wasn't able to cover against Charlotte, let alone Tulane. So I guess gave me. I'm talking to myself. Charlotte covering in the points. That's what I'm going to do.
This game's just an avoid for me, man. I mean, Charlotte's going to get absolutely throttled by Tulane. Tulane wins this; they're in the American Championship. Charlotte is just bad. They are one of the worst, if not the worst team in the FBS this season. Hopefully, Coach Albin can get things turned around next season, but it's not going to happen for him this year. Tulane throttles them and makes their way to the American Conference Championship. Speaking of the American Conference Championship, so it's really kind of three contenders. You got Tulane, North Texas, and Navy. If Tulane and North Texas win, they are both in. 100% what I expect to happen. Tulane's playing Charlotte. North Texas is playing. Who are they playing? They're playing the Thursday night. Why am I missing it? Oh, Temple. Friday night. They play Friday night against Temple. I mean, Navy's got to be rooting for Temple, right? Because Charlotte ain't beating Tulane. That ain't happening. So Navy's got to win Thursday night against Memphis and then turn around Friday afternoon and be rooting hard for Temple. Okay, I think that's really like, the path. Well, actually, I take that back. It doesn't really matter. Because if North Texas is the one that loses, if Navy wins if Navy wins and North Texas loses, Navy would be in. But if they end up tied, North Texas has the tiebreaker. Yeah.
All right, Timothy, you said you haven't seen Colorado State. They may be the worst. Well, I'll say you haven't seen Charlotte because they are.
Yeah, Colorado State's like. They're like bottom three. I mean, it's Sam Houston, I think Sam Houston, Charlotte, and Colorado State. But there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind, Charlotte is the worst of the three.
You know what, Timothy? This makes me feel really bad because I thought Colorado State was going to be in the Mountain West Championship game this year against San Jose State. Egg on my face. Gross.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, back to the American. It's I just don't see any way it's going to work out for Navy. It's going to be Tulane versus North Texas. All right.
All right. Let's get to our Sun Belt Conference. We've got Week 13 in review. Louisiana at Arkansas State. This game would start sloppy, and in the first. And we would have fireworks in the second. We had 27 points scored before things slow down in the second half, as there's only 13 points scored in that second half. So let's jump right to the last drive. Arkansas State has the ball with 2:25 left in the game. They're down 4. Jalen Rayner would go 7 of 11 for 70 yards, but on 3rd and 5 from the Louisiana 13, Rayner would throw an incompletion, but there's a flag for defensive pass interference that would take Arkansas State down to the 2-yard line with 6 seconds left. Out of the timeout, Rayner would look for Corey Rucker in the end zone, but it was incomplete. Louisiana would call another timeout to talk things over with 3 seconds left. 1 second and goal from the 2. Louisiana would stop Arkansas State at the 1-yard line on the final play of the game to win this one, 34-30.
The one thing I want to add, Coach Butch Jones was absolutely fired up after this game, and I can tell you why. On that play, that last play where Jalen Rayner ran the ball to try to get the touchdown, the refs let the play go on for quite a while before they blew the whistle and declared forward progress stop. And the Louisiana bench was on that field well before the whistle blew. And so Butch Jones, and rightfully so, that should have been a flag, right? Like, and it would have at least given Arkansas State another untimed down to try to get it in from like the half-yard line. How the refs didn't notice, I don't know. They reviewed the play, but they reviewed the play to see if Rayner made it across the goal line. They weren't reviewing the play to see who was on the field before the whistle got blown. So yeah, Butch Jones, deservedly should have been angry after that. That was a bad miscue there by the refs at the end of a rather entertaining game. It started off rough, turnover after. I think there was 5 turnovers like in the first quarter, sloppy, and then the game got really interesting. A lot of back and forth. Good game overall.
All right. Saturday games, Washington State at number 21, James Madison. In the second quarter, we saw 21 of the 44 points scored in this one. Xavier Eckhouse would be intercepted by Justin Eglin, who would return it 37 yards to the house to put JMU up 10-3 early in the second. Washington State, however, would score the other 14 points of this quarter and up 17-10 at the half. Late in the third, Alonzo Barnett III would find Braylon Wolowski for a 68-yard touchdown to tie the game at 17. And following a Washington State field goal, Wayne Knight would break off a 58-yard touchdown to put the Dukes up 24-20 with 6:14 left. And that run would prove to be the game-winning touchdown as the Dukes defeat the Cougars 24-20 at home. Old Dominion at Georgia Southern. Take it away, Justice.
It wasn't. There's not much to talk about. It wasn't a game. Old Dominion's defense absolutely dominated Georgia Southern. Before you got to the garbage time in the fourth quarter where ODU was playing second and third string guys, the rushing yardage totals was like 348 for Old Dominion, 9 for Georgia Southern. And if you remember last week, O.J. Arnold went bonkers. He was Luke's offensive player of the week. He went absolutely nuts. Not so this week. J.C. French had a terrible day. That ODU defense, man, they have been ever since the JMU loss, and specifically the last, 3 weeks, they have been absolutely dominant. You saw them get the shutout against Troy last week. First time Troy had ever been shut out in Sun Belt play. And then this week for Georgia Southern, the worst home loss in program history, courtesy of Old Dominion. Man, I wish we could play JMU now versus when we played them back when we played them. The same with Marshall. I wish we could have do-overs, but that's not how it works. But yeah, I mean, the Old Dominion defense has just been dominant, and then Colton Joseph just does Colton Joseph things. Over 2,500 yards passing. I think he's at 899 yards rushing. He needs 101 yards to get 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Fully expect that to happen this week. He did break the ODU single season rushing record, and I expect him just to add to that total. I think he had 189 rushing yards in this one. The best season in Old Dominion history since 2016, and I expect it to continue with another win this week. But we'll get there in a moment.
All right, Marshall at App State. After 2 Marshall touchdowns in the second quarter to put the Herd up 21-9, it seemed like they were able to bust it open on their next possession. Zion Turner rushed for 6 plus a face mask. The Herd failed to do much in the drive, and they would have to punt. App State would march the ball down the field 75 yards for a touchdown, which was huge for the Mountaineers as they would cut the lead to 5, 21-16 just before the half. And it's important because App State would get the ball first in the second half, and they would score on a Jakari Lewis's second touchdown of the day to go up 23-21. Like I said, scoring there before the half and then to start the second half was just a momentum shift in this game. Marshall's next possession would be a field goal to go up 24-23. Following a missed 27-yard Marshall field goal, both teams played the field position game, and with 5:45 left in the game, Marshall's Zion Turner ran for 7 yards on 2nd and 10, but he would fumble the ball, and Caleb Sandstorm would recover for App State. App State would turn that miscue into 3 points and go up 26-24. Marshall will get another chance at this with 2:02 left. On 3rd and 1 from the App State 49, Michael Allen would rush for 10 yards but cough the ball up, and App State's defense would recover their second fumble of the day. App State wins 26-24. Southern Miss at South Alabama. Southern Miss would only have 108 total yards of offense at the half and were down 21-7. Southern Miss would get the ball to start the second half, and on the first play, Braylon Braxton would throw an INT to Cole Blaylock, who would take it down to the 1-yard line, and Bishop Davenport would punch it in, and the Jaguars would go up 21 points. Southern Miss would try and make things interesting as Braylon Braxton found Carl Chester from 11 yards out to cut the lead to 14 with 8:32 left. However, Kentrell Bullock said, "Not on my watch." He wasted no time as he would go on to score on a 64-yard rush on the second play of the drive. Southern Miss would score 2 more touchdowns late to make it 42-35 with under a minute to go. So Southern Miss would try an onside kick, but the Jags would recover, and they win this one 42-35. Georgia State at Troy. This game had 50 points, but it was the quietest 50 points I guess you could ever imagine. It was like a rock fight. 28 total possessions. He had 10 punts, 5 turnover on downs, 1 interception, 1 fumble, 1 missed field goal, 6 touchdowns, and 3 field goals total. Following a Christian Veer interception with 18 seconds left in the third, Troy would score a touchdown to go up 24-12. Georgia State would then score a touchdown, and Troy would respond with a touchdown of their own. Now it's 31-19 Troy with 6:25 left. And I mentioned those 5 turnover on downs. Well, Georgia State would have 3 of those 5 on their final 3 possessions of the game as Troy wins this one 31-19. Coastal Carolina versus South Carolina. South Carolina put up 579 total yards and held Coastal to 220. South Carolina would score on 5 of their 8 first-half possessions to go up 37-0 at the half, and they would cruise in this one 51-7. The bright spot here for the Chanticleers was a blocked punt that they returned for 30 yards for a touchdown. UL Monroe at Texas State, slow going to start this one as the first quarter was highlighted by 6 punts and 64 total yards. In the second, there wasn't much more excitement as a field goal was the only points of the half, and Texas State was up 3-0 at the half. In the second, it was a different story. 9 drives, 6 touchdowns. ULM started the second half with a turnover on down. Then the teams traded touchdowns, and the turning point was after a Texas State touchdown. ULM would be forced to punt. The punt would pin Texas State at the 5-yard line, but a big Greg Burrell 42-yard rush would help them get their backs off their own goal line. Texas State would score a touchdown on the drive to go up 24-7, and they would go on to win this one 31-14. When it gets to Sun Belt Conference Bowl eligibility, no new teams are added here. We're going to stay with 5 teams: ODU, Southern Miss, JMU, Coastal Carolina, and Troy. Now, let's move on over to our Week 14 preview, our Saturday games. We've got Georgia Southern at Marshall, 1:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Marshall favored by 9.5 points. Over-under set at 63.5. I'm going to stay away from this. I have no idea what's happening with Georgia Southern. I have no idea what's going on with the Marshall. Georgia Southern looks so different from one week to the next. Marshall has all the potential. Right now, the 63.5 seems like a very, very large number. So if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick the under 63.5. but for all intents and purposes, that could be a really low number for these two teams, depending on how things go. But I think right now I'd take the under.
I think, like, from a betting perspective, this is an avoid for me. I do think, provided Carlos Del Rio Wilson is healthy and starts and plays this game, I fully expect Marshall to win. This is basically an elimination game for one of these teams. They both are sitting at 5 wins, so the winner is going to get the bowl eligibility. With the game being at home, I think that gives Marshall the edge. The only concern I have is if Carlos Del Rio Wilson is not available for the Herd. It's going to be a close, tight game, I think. But Coach Gibson says Carlos is good to go, so I don't know. I kind of trust it. Last home game of the year. Give me Marshall for the win, but from a betting perspective, it's an avoid, and be interesting to kind of see what happens with Coach Helton there, assuming Georgia Southern loses. Like, I think they just gave him a big extension last year. I don't think I think fans want him fired. I don't see it happening. Obviously, I think he would start next season on the hot seat. But
underperformed with the
definitely
talent had on this team.
Underperformed. I mean, the defense is atrocious. This defense is the worst. I think the worst defense in the Sun Belt. So wheels up for Marshall and the Thundering Herd. I think they might be Georgia Southern from a defensive perspective. I think because of what ODU did to them last week, Georgia Southern is statistically, from a total yards perspective, or at least a rushing yards perspective, is the worst team in all of FBS. I think they're ranked 136th. So
yeah, not very good. All right, Georgia State at ODU, 2 p.m. Eastern kickoff. ODU favored by 26.5 points. Over/under set at 58.5. That is a pretty large number, but Georgia State not playing well. ODU is on a heater the last couple weeks, so I'm going to lay the points with ODU, but I don't honestly feel that great about it.
Yeah, give me ODU and the points. I think to get 58.5, ODU's got to get 52 of those points. I think why I'm more comfortable taking the points with ODU is I think the only chance, in my opinion, that the Panthers have to make this game competitive is if Cam Brown is at quarterback. And I think he's, if he did have a concussion, he's probably not going to clear protocol. And even if he did, do you throw him out there in a game that doesn't really mean a whole lot in terms of your season? You got one win. You're not likely to beat Old Dominion regardless. But if Christian Veillere is back there, man, that ODU defense is going to eat. Chris Trinidad's going to have a huge day, I think. The right tackle for Georgia Southern, I forget his name, is not good. And that's where Trinidad is going to be. And Chris Trinidad, senior day, he's already had a great season. He's going to get himself a couple sacks, especially again if it's Christian Veillere. Christian is not a dual threat mobile guy. He played terrible against ODU last year. They ended up putting Zach Gibson in the game, who kind of brought Georgia State back and gave him a chance at the end. There's no Zach Gibson to bring off the bench. I don't believe TJ Finley is on the roster anymore. I think PJ Hatter is hurt. There's another quarterback whose name I don't even know. So I think it's going to be Christian Veillere, and that's going to be, unfortunately, bad news for the Panthers, good news for ODU. They're going to cruise here for the Oyster Bowl, as it is the ODU. The last game is always dubbed at ODU. ODU rolls and lays the 26.5 points, and defense dominates the Panthers.
All right, Arkansas State at Appalachian State, kickoff at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Appalachian State favored by 2.5 points, over under set at 55.5. In this one, I'm going to take Arkansas State in the points. App State's defense, not too great in the passing game. I expect Corey Rucker to have a huge game on the outside. App State just has a hard time covering those outside wide receivers when they're in the red zone. Jalen Raynor looks at those outside wide receivers. Hunter Summers might even pop off in this game. I look for the Red Wolves to win this one. I think they're at 5 wins. They're looking to become bowl eligible. I think they do it at App State.
Yeah, this is another winner go elimination game in the Sun Belt. You got 2 5-win teams. One of them's going to win. One of them's going to become bowl eligible. One of them's hopes are going to be dashed. For me, from a betting perspective, I don't feel comfortable either way. I think it's just going to be a good game. A good matchup between two good teams and fighting for that bowl eligibility. I might give App State the edge just because they're at home. But I don't know. I just think it's going to be a good game. Final game of Corey Rucker, who will leave holding all, if not all, the receiving records at Arkansas State. He might even have some Sun Belt records. I'm not sure, but career records. But yeah, phenomenal career there at Arkansas State for Corey Rucker.
App State, the best way that they have a chance to win is to hand the ball to Jakari Lewis 40 times. That's probably the best chance to win.
Path to victory.
All right, UL Monroe at Louisiana, kickoff 3 p.m. Eastern. Louisiana favored by 10.5 points. Over under set at 49.5 points. I'll lay the points with Louisiana 10.5. Lunch is probably going to bring his lunchbox to work and just take care of business.
Yeah, I agree on all accounts, man. Lunch, he should have a different name other than Lunch because, the dude's just a freaking load, man. Like, when he runs that ball, there was a run against Arkansas State last was a Thursday night, man. Where it must have taken 5 dudes to take him down. You thought he was going to be, maybe get a yard or two, and the next thing you know, it's a 13-yard carry. He is a load to bring down, man.
Now, it wasn't a good play for Lunch, but I saw a glimpse. It was in the first quarter when he had that fumble that Arkansas State returned for a touchdown. Dude draped all over him, and I thought he was going to break it. I mean, he ends up the lineman put his arm around him and swatted the ball away, which was a great play in itself. But I literally thought Lunch was about to just get out of this tackle that seemed like he couldn't get out of. I don't know. It was wild.
Yeah, the dude is a handful running the ball. He willed them to so many first downs in that game. I agree with you. Give me the Raging Cajuns laying the 10.5 points.
All right, South Alabama versus Texas State, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Texas State favored by 9.5 points. Over under set at 62.5. Both of these teams have had up and down years. Gut says to lay the points with Texas State in the 9.5, but I feel like that 62.5 is too big of a number. But both, South Alabama has a hard time tackling, but South Alabama have been sneaky. I think I'm going to lay the points with Texas and take Texas State and take the 9.5 points. I'm trying to talk myself into 62.5, and I can't do it.
I like the over. I like the over in this game. Both defenses aren't good. Texas State needs this win to get the bowl eligibility. That would maybe satisfy their fans to a little bit. South Alabama took it. Kentrell Bullock ran all over Southern Miss last week. He's going to run all over the Bobcats. Should make for an interesting game. I do like Texas State to win it. I don't know that they win it by the 9.5. So give me the over 62.5. Texas State wins though and reaches bowl eligibility.
All right, and then we got Troy at Southern Miss. Kickoff at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Big game for the Sun Belt. Southern Miss favored by 6.5 points. Over under set at 51.5. I will lay the points with Southern Miss. I think they win by more than a touchdown in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Southern. This is a win or go home. Not win or go home. Win and end conference championship. Win the Sun Belt West. I agree with you. I like Southern Miss to win this game and win the Sun Belt West.
All right, James Madison versus Coastal Carolina. Games at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. JMU favored by 22.5. Over under set at 54.5. That's a large number.
Over under is large. Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to stay clear of this one.
I think for me, give me JMU laying the 22.5 points. No Samari Collier for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Fortunately for them, they've already got to the 6 wins, so that they've already got to bowl eligibility. There is a possibility that Samari Collier is back for their bowl game, and then depending on that JUCO lawsuit, Samari could have another year or two of eligibility. But they're just a different team without Samari. Samari, he really turned the season around for Coastal Carolina. JMU's gonna absolutely the JMU defense is so good. They're gonna shut down that Coastal Carolina offense. If I had to bet something, I'm probably taking the under and taking JMU and the point and laying the 22.5 points. But JMU I think is just going to thoroughly dominate this game and then move on to the Sun Belt Championship. One thing I will say about the over and why it doesn't make me my preferred play I think is taking JMU and laying the 22.5 points is because JMU's got to impress the playoff committee, right? They could beat Coastal by 40, and I don't think it's going to make a hill of beans difference. But JMU could try and turn it on and pour it on against the undermatched Chanticleers, just in the hopes of trying to impress the college football playoff committee. They got 2 more chances. They got the Coastal Carolina game and then the Sun Belt Championship game. So I think if they can, they will pour it on in both games to try to impress that committee. I have a hard time seeing a path for JMU making it to the college football playoff, but that's what they're going to have to do to have any hope. All right, well let's move over to the Sun Belt Conference Championship contenders, and I told you this was the easiest one, and it absolutely is. JMU's already in the conference championship game. The Troy and Southern Miss game is a win and in. Whoever wins the Troy Southern Miss game will be the Sun Belt West rep, and JMU will host the Sun Belt Championship. I will be a big Southern Miss supporter on Saturday. I have money. I bet Southern Miss to win the Sun Belt West a long time ago, back like in I believe June. So I'm hoping for a Southern Miss win. I also bet on ODU to win the East. That didn't come to fruition. But Southern Miss can win me some money. So let's go Southern Miss versus JMU, and I expect JMU to dominate in these last 2 games just to try and impress the committee.
All right, let's move on over to our Mountain West Conference and our Week 13 preview, or Week 13 in review. We had our Friday game and a shocking game nonetheless here. Hawaii at UNLV. This game was huge as it was essentially an elimination game for both teams in terms of an appearance in the Mountain West Championship game. And this one was pretty much all Rebels. UNLV used a dominant second quarter to propel the Rebels to a 38-10 victory as they kept the Pineapple Trophy. In that second quarter, UNLV defense held the Rainbow Warriors to 17 total yards, 1 field goal, 1 3-and-out, and forced 1 INT. UNLV would be up 24-10 after one half of football, and Calandria was 21 of 26 for 253 yards and 3 touchdowns while adding 16 yards on the ground. Saturday games, Nevada at Wyoming. Not much offense in this one as both teams were held to under 300 yards of total offense. Wyoming found their success via the air as they won 152-58 yards in the air, and then Nevada found their success on the ground as they won the rushing game battle 213-68. In the first half, we would see 3 missed field goals and a 13-play 90-yard drive by the Wolfpack as they held a 7-0 lead at the half. Nevada would score a field goal with their first possession of the second half, but their second possession, Carter Jones would fumble the ball on a 4-yard scamper. Wyoming would recover at the Nevada 21-yard line and turn that fumble into 7 points. Now it is 10-7 Nevada. Nevada now has the ball in the fourth, and they run the ball 9 times out of 12 plays in a drive that ate up 7 minutes and 52 seconds. The drive would end in a 43-yard field goal to put the Wolfpack up 13-7. Later in the quarter, Wyoming would be down 6 with the ball 2:22 left and the ball at their own 18. Caden Anderson would move the Cowboys down the field, and it would be 4th and 3 at the Nevada 5 with 23 seconds left. Anderson would find freshman Dion DeBlanc for 4 yards, and the Cowboys would hurry up to the line to spike the ball. 18 seconds left. Now it's 1st and goal at the 1, and Anderson checks it down to Sam Scott for a 4-yard loss. He's still in the field of play, so they get back and call that snap with 2 seconds left, and the pass falls incomplete. The pass was intended for Michael Fitzgerald, and the Wolfpack escape Laramie with a 13-7 win.
Gotta imagine Jay Savell's seats really, really, really warm. It's only 2 years, but man, it felt like it was warm after year 1. It's gotta be really warm again.
All right, New Mexico at Air Force. Without Liam Sarka under center for Air Force, this offense has just kind of struggled. The team had 44 yards of total offense at the half, and they failed to cross midfield in that first half. They had 2 plays where they're at the 50-yard line, and where there's an incompletion and then a 2-yard sack. The Lobos are up 17-0 at the half. Air Force would score their first points of the evening at the 10:15 mark of the fourth quarter, but New Mexico would win this one 20-3 on the back of this Lobo defense and Damon Blankson 61 yards rushing and 1 touchdown on the ground. Colorado State at Boise State. Boise would use a big second quarter to take a 27-7 lead at the half. Let me just talk about the second quarter. Boise State touchdown, Colorado State interception, Boise State field goal, Colorado State fumble, Boise State touchdown, Colorado State punt, Boise State field goal, end of half. Boise State would cruise 49-21 and win behind Sire gains 149 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Dylan Riley chipped in with 72 and a touchdown, while Malik Sherrod had 56 and 2 on the ground. I would say if Boise State can run the ball like they did in this one, granted Colorado State it can be had in a lot of places, but especially on the ground. But if Boise State can run like they did, that will help, as they've got a chance to be in the conference championship game. Utah State at Fresno State. This one was a pretty evenly matched football game, despite the 17-7 score at the half in favor of Fresno State. Utah State would inch closer as they were the only team to score, as they had had a dominant possession where they controlled the ball for 8 minutes and 47 seconds that ended in an Anthony Garcia to Bryson Barr 2-yard pass that ended in a touchdown. It's now 17-14 Fresno State. After Fresno State punted, Miles Davis would cough it up. After a 10-yard run, Fresno State would recover at the Utah State 19. However, the Aggies' offense would get bailed out by their defense, Bronson Oveo Jr., as they would intercept E.J. Warner, get the ball back to the offense, down 3 with 39 seconds left in the third. This drive would be the Bryson Barnes show, but it would be capped off with a 19-yard touchdown runs from Javen Jacobs to put the Aggies up 21-17 with 10:37 left in the game. Fresno would go 3-and-out in their next possession, and the duo of Barnes and Jacobs would make them pay again, as Barnes accounted for 23 yards on the drive, while Jacobs accounted for 37, including his 32-yard touchdown run to put the Aggies up 28-17 with 6:05 left. This Aggie defense and Bronson Oveo Jr. would put the clamps on the Bulldogs offense as they created a turnover on downs to seal the win for the Aggies 28-17. Bronson had a big sack on this drive on a 3rd and 2. It was just huge. Just helped the Aggies seal this one. The Aggies defense shut out Fresno State in the second half, allowing 94 total yards of offense, forcing 3 punts, 1 interception, and 2 turnover on downs. San Jose State at San Diego State. Walker Eagat would throw an early INT about 1 minute into the game. The Aztecs would get 7 points as Lucky Sutton rushed it in from 1 yard out, and he continues his incredible season. Like Justice mentioned earlier, Eagat would get hurt early on and not make it out of the first quarter, and Tama Amasome would come in relief, and he did pretty good at moving the ball for the Spartans, and they would find a lot of success on the ground. However, their kicking game did not help them, as Matthias Brown would only go 1 of 3 in the first half. Other than the drive set up by Eagat's interception, the Aztecs really only had one, I'll call it good drive, quotations for audio, in the first half, which saw Jaden Denegal run one in from 1 yard out. It was 18-3 San Diego State at the half, but it could have been 18-9. In the third quarter, the highlight was San Diego State cornerback Chris Johnson, as he had a nice sack on a 2nd and 4, as well as an interception. Both defenses played pretty well in this one, as neither team was able to eclipse 300 yards of total offense. I would argue that San Jose State's defense played a better second half, but the Aztecs' defense just seemed to come up with more like crucial sacks or INTs that would give the ball back to their offense. Just more timely defensive plays there for San Diego State. And San Diego State would score the only points in the second half with 2:03 left in the game, and they would go on to win this one 25-3. San Jose State had those 2 missed field goals in the first half, and in the second half they would have 5 possessions and turn the ball over at the San Diego State 34, their own 45 following a 13-yard sack, their own 31, and throw 1 interception and then 1 punt. The San Jose State defense held San Diego State to 89 yards in the second half, while the Spartans only had 104 yards of offense in the second half. Bowl eligibility-wise, we added 1 team. Utah State makes it with their win, so now you got Boise State, New Mexico, Hawaii, Fresno State, UNLV, San Diego State, and Utah State. 7 teams are bowl eligible in the Mountain West. Let's head into our Week 14 previews. We've got 3 games on Friday. Let's start with Air Force at Colorado State, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Air Force favored by 1.5 points, over-under set at 46.5. In this one, I anticipate I'll lay the points with Air Force in the 1.5. I anticipate Air Force to have a lot of success on the ground. This game will move pretty quick, I think, but give me Air Force laying the points.
I don't know. To me, this is a game I don't even know if I want to watch, right? Especially no Liam Zarka. I think it's a dogfight. Two teams, especially with no Liam, are going to look really bad. Man, it's just going to be ugly. I guess if you're asking me to pick something, I guess I would pick the Air Force laying the 1.5 just because Air Force is at home. But man, I think this is not going to be an entertaining game to watch on Friday afternoon.
If it makes any difference, Air Force is not at home.
Oh, it's in Fort Collins. There you go. I still give me Air Force, I think.
I say first team to 17 wins.
Yeah, you're right. Probably first team to double digits wins, maybe. I don't know.
So, all right, San Diego State at New Mexico, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. This one's going to be a fun game. Two really good defenses going at it. San Diego State favored by 1.5 points. Over under set at 41.5. I like the under 41.5. Like, it's a pretty low number, but I think I'd be more inclined to lay the points 1.5 with San Diego State on the road.
Man, this this could be a sneaky good game. I mean, the San Diego State defense is really, really good. The offense is give the ball to Lucky Sutton, give the ball to Lucky Sutton, and give the ball to Lucky Sutton. And that New Mexico defense, I think, is going to key in on Lucky Sutton. I think they're going to force Denegal and San Diego State to try and beat them in other ways other than allowing Lucky Sutton to beat them. I think this game's going to go as it's going to be determined by how the New Mexico offense can play against that really, really good San Diego State defense. Can they get anything going on the offensive end? Man, like, as much as I'd love for New Mexico to win this game, and kind of complete the comeback, if you will, the fact that they're already bowl eligible, like, it's just a testament to the job that that coaching staff has done year one there at New Mexico, and just kind of continuing the trajectory that Bronco had him on a year ago. But at the end of the day, I think I have to go with San Diego State to win the game. San Diego State wins and they're in the Mountain West Championship. So if I'm putting money on it, give me San Diego State and lay the 1.5 points.
I mean, that's what I want to say, but like now I'm starting to this is going to be a fun game to watch because
it is.
Without Jordan Napier, if I don't anticipate we see him, so you can really just key on in that run game. And Denegal is not a great passer, so I think that benefits New Mexico.
Yeah, it just really boils down to what their offense can do against that Aztec defense.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, if they can find some success, they can win the game. But man, that San Diego State defense is really good. But like Timothy says, New Mexico's undefeated at home. Can they keep that streak alive? It's gonna be tough. Regardless, should make for a good game. And unlike the previous game, this is one to definitely tune into Friday afternoon.
All right. Boise State at Utah State, 4 p.m. Eastern. Boise State favored by 3.5 points. Over under set at 55.5. I feel like I want to take Utah State in the points. That hook there kind of makes me want to do that. Utah State been up and down on the season. Boise State, again, it's going to come down to if they can run the ball. If they can't run the ball, Utah State's, I think, going to find success. I think I'm going to lean with the better quarterback in this one. And Utah State's passing attack, give me the Utah State in the points.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Utah State and the Aggies win this game at home. Give me Utah State and the laying or getting the 3.5 points, I should say. I think they will stop the Boise State running game enough, and Bryson Barnes could have a good day against this Boise State defense.
All right. Saturday games, we've got 3 of them. UNLV at Nevada, kickoff 9 p.m. Eastern. UNLV favored by 8.5 points. Over under set at 53.5. That seems like a low line for UNLV being 8.5-point favorites. I will lay the points to UNLV.
Yeah, I agree. They had a dominant performance against Hawaii. In week 13, that Hawaii offensive line was just atrocious. UNLV was only rushing 3 and getting pressure. If they can repeat that against Nevada, it's going to be a long, long day for Nevada. Anthony Calandria is, like we've been talking about, seems like for a while now. He's got this rebel offense running. He's a dual threat. He can beat you in there. He can beat you on the ground. Got a plethora of receivers. They got Jet Thomas at running back. Yeah, I agree. Give me the Rebels laying the 8.5 points.
Especially true freshmen in this one at quarterback for Nevada. Like UNLV is going to have their way, I think. Fresno State at San Jose State, 10:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Fresno State favored by 2.5 points. Over under set at 46.5. I'm going to take Fresno State. I'm going to lay the points with them. San Jose State, not the season that we anticipated for them this year. Fresno State, getting E.J. Warner back, I don't know if it helped them all that much. I think it did, but it's rough. But give me Fresno State laying the 2.5.
I think the fact that there's going to be no Walker Eggett and that offense, I mean, while Tama Amasoni adds a different layer in terms of his mobility, the passing is just not there for him yet as a true freshman. And I think Fresno State wins this game. I mean, really the only reason to watch this is to see Danny Scudero. I don't think this is going to be a very entertaining game. I think it's going to be an ugly rock fight, but give me Fresno State laying the 2.5 points.
All right, and then the last game for the Mountain West is Wyoming at Hawaii, 11 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Hawaii favored by 7.5 points. Over-under set at 44.5. This is like the over-under is kind of surprising. Given that Hawaii is only favored by 7.5 points. Give me Hawaii laying those 7.5. I don't think Wyoming probably scores more than 10 points, if that. So I will say give me Hawaii laying the points with 7.5.
Yeah, I agree. The Wyoming defense is good, but to your point, I don't see Wyoming scoring more than 7 or 10 points. Hopefully, it's a bounce back game for Alejado. They had, like I said, they had a rough go, but man, like UNLV got pressure with 3 guys. If Wyoming can do the same thing, it's gonna be an ugly, ugly game once again for the Rainbow Warriors. But great season to them so far. Hopefully, they can get another win on Saturday to end the night and end the regular season on a high note for the Rainbow Warriors. So give me Hawaii laying the points.
All right, what does the conference championship look like? Potential there, Justice.
You got so we got 4 teams: Boise State, New Mexico, UNLV, and San Diego State. San Diego State wins and they're in. Boise State wins and they're in. New Mexico needs to win, and they need Boise State and UNLV to lose. UNLV would need to win and a loss from Boise State. Man. I think if I had to pick, I think it's San Diego State and UNLV, because we said earlier I think San Diego State beats the Lobos, and I think Boise State loses. I think that's what it's going to be. But man, wouldn't it be fun if it was New Mexico and UNLV for our friend Timothy here, New Mexico Lobos fan. Unfortunately, that's if I was to bet, I don't think that's the way it goes. I think it goes to San Diego State and UNLV, and that'll be a fun game to watch because, like we just talked about, that San Diego State offense is basically Lucky Sutton, but that defense might be the best defense in all the G5. I think I would rank them number one, but that UNLV offense is so good. It'd make for a fun championship game.
All right. Well, let's move on over to the Mid-American Conference and our Week 13 games in review. Tuesday is when we had a little bit of MACtion that started. Akron at Bowling Green. First half tied at 6. Bowling Green had 136 yards of total offense. Akron had 171 yards of total offense. Akron had 2 fumbles and threw 1 INT. And Bowling Green had 1 interception in the second half. There had been 15 points scored up to the 4-minute and 5-second mark of the third quarter. And then 22 seconds, Bowling Green scored a touchdown. Akron responded with a Ben Finley 75-yard touchdown pass to Israel Polk. So you had 14 points in 22 seconds. And like I said, 15 points up to that 4:05 mark in the third quarter. Akron would be up 3 points, and Bowling Green would be driving. Bowling Green had the ball at the Akron 30, and a 2nd and 9 with 1:06 left. Bruno Dahl would come up with a big interception for the Zips to seal the win, and the 5th win for the Zips as they won this one 19-16. Akron has its first 5-win season since 2017. They're on a bye this week. Jordan Gant is Akron's first 1,000-yard rusher since 2008.
Akron's season's great season, I think, by Akron standards, and they're on a bye, but their season's over, right? It just kind of it's just weird how the schedule worked for them this year that they're already done. But gives them a head start on evaluating things for next year. It looks like they got things headed in the right direction. They will have to replace Ben Finley, and that'll be a tall order for the Zips in 2026.
All right, UMass at Ohio. All right, heavy rain in this one. There was a lightning delay. Ohio would only throw the ball 8 times in this contest for 28 yards. Ohio would rush for 363 total yards. Seiya Bangura would have a career high, 196 yards rushing. Sloppy first half, and we'd see Ohio take a 21-7 lead into the half. Ohio's Parker Navarro would fumble on the opening drive of the second half, and UMass would turn that into 7 points, cutting the lead to 7. And things went downhill for UMass in the fourth. To start the fourth, UMass was down 14 with the ball, but would have a turnover on downs. Ohio would find the end zone to go up 21. Then UMass would throw an interception, and Ohio would cash in for another touchdown to increase their lead to 42-14, and they would win by that same score. Western Michigan at Northern Illinois. It was all NIU to begin this one. NIU's up 13-0 midway through the second quarter, which was honestly pretty shocking for me when the Broncos would finally wake up before the half, as they would score 14 points in 1 minute and 38 seconds to take a 14-13 lead into the locker room. Western would get the ball to start the second half and go on a nearly 7-minute drive that would end in a Brock Lowry touchdown run for a 21-13 lead. Western would later score in the fourth on another long clock-eating drive that featured 14 runs, 1 pass. Following an NIU fumble at their own 5, Western would score quickly. Now they're up 35-13, and they go on to win this one 35-19. Western Michigan had 3 100-plus yard rushers in quarterback Brock Lowry and running backs Davin Miles and Jalen Buckley. Moving on to our Wednesday games, Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo hit a 47-yard field goal midway through the third to put the Bulls up 20-17, and then it was all Miami as they scored 20 unanswered points and hold Buffalo's offense to 48 total yards. Miami wins this one 37-20 as they keep their MAC championship game hopes alive. Central Michigan at Kent State. The Chippewas established dominance pretty early on both sides of the ball, forcing a 3-and-out on defense and then executing on the longest drive by time of possession in program history. They swallowed up 10 minutes and 38 of the game clock over an 18-play, 75-yard drive before capping it off with a 1-yard score from Joe Labas to Tommy McIntosh. Kent State's ensuing drive would end in a fumble that Central Michigan's running back Brock Townsend would later punch in for a touchdown run from 2 yards out to double the score. It's now 14-0 at the start of the second quarter, and the third quarter was a defensive struggle as Kent State forces 3-and-outs. Central Michigan defense forced a turnover on downs. And in the fourth, Kent State was down 14-3 and attempting a 36-yard field goal, but that would be missed. Central Michigan could not move the ball, went 3-and-out. And then Dooley would return the punt 41 yards to the house for the Golden Flashes to cut the lead to 5. It's now 14-9 Central Michigan. But Central Michigan would respond with a 10-play, 75-yard drive that ate up 6 minutes and 3 seconds that ended with a Brock Townsend 10-yard rushing touchdown, his second on the day, and the Chippewas would be up 21-9 with 4:41 left, and they would win by the final 28-16. And then our sole Saturday game for MACtion, Ball State at Toledo. Not much to cover here as Toledo was up 24-3 at the half, and the Rockets defense held Ball State to 86 total yards. They created one turnover at the end of the first half. Toledo ends up winning this one 38-9. Miami is new, is a new team to the MAC Bowl eligibility. You have Western Michigan, Ohio, Central Michigan, Miami, and Toledo. We'll get into it later, but I think all these teams are in contention for a chance to play. This is probably the messiest of them all.
It is the messiest of them all.
But it's kind of interesting because coming into the season, I thought the MAC had the chance to be like low-key one of the best conferences, probably behind the American, in my opinion. It hasn't turned out that way, but a lot more teams vying for a top spot here. We'll get to that later. We'll move into our Week 14 preview, Tuesday bowl games. This one caught me off guard. Tomorrow, or if you're listening to it today, 4:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff, Bowling Green at UMass.
You heard that right. It's 4:30.
UMass searching for its first win this season. Bowling Green favored by 14.5 points. Over under set at 44.5. Lay the points with Bowling Green in that 14.5. If you don't know the name of
Austin Dendy,
the fresh, is he a true freshman?
I think he might be a true freshman, but I'm not 100% sure.
Get to know him. He's going to be fun to watch. He's an interesting runner. Like, I don't know what his size is, but he kind of runs tall, which I don't love, but he seems to be hard to bring down. Somebody to watch if you want to maybe. I think he's going to come back to Bowling Green next year. You got Eddie George running the team. I think he's going to learn a lot. Somebody exciting that I've got my eye on for next year.
He is a redshirt freshman, 6'1", 225.
I mean, he's a big boy for a running back.
Just wanted to point out, Timothy pointed out, yeah, we both missed a team. We all three missed a team in terms of who the worst team in the FBS might be. Yeah, it could be UMass. I think for me, it's between UMass and Charlotte. If those two were to play, I think I'd probably pick UMass to win. But they're both really, really bad teams. Yeah, that would be
And shout out for Timothy for we're on a marathon right now with this show, longer than normal, and you've been here through a good deal of this. So shout out to Timothy.
But yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Luke. Give me Bowling Green and lay the points.
All right, Western Michigan versus Eastern Michigan, a battle of directional Michigans in this one. Kickoff 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Western Michigan favored by 7.5 points. Over under set at 46.5. All the over unders are set in the mid 40s, about 45.5 to 46.5. I'm gonna lay the points with Western Michigan and the 7.5. Look for Western Michigan to keep the ball on the ground, eat up clock, and as soon as Eastern Michigan, what will be the turning point in this is if Western Michigan can score, Eastern Michigan does a quick 3-and-out, and then Western Michigan eats up clock and scores again. Brock Lowry going to have a big night, I think.
Yeah, this is the easiest part of the MAC championship game. Western Michigan wins and they're in. And yeah, I agree with you. Western Michigan and lay the 7.5 points.
All right, Friday games. You're stuffed. You've had your leftovers. Or maybe you're celebrating Thanksgiving on Friday. I don't know. But we got 2 Friday games here from MACtion. Ohio at Buffalo, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Ohio favored by 7.5 points. Over under set at 44.5. Give me Ohio, or give me Buffalo in the points. Ohio just hasn't been playing well. Buffalo hasn't been playing well either. This defense that I thought would be way better has been had. I think Ohio wins because Ohio has like 20,000 turnovers and still escapes every week. But maybe 7.5 would be a lot on the road. So give me Buffalo to cover.
Yeah, Buffalo needs to win this game to make it to a bowl game. So they're playing for that. Obviously, Ohio's playing for a possible spot in the MAC championship. Should make for a good game. I tend to agree with you. I think I take Buffalo getting the 7.5 points in this game. I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable saying who I think wins the game outright. Again, Ohio's just looked ugly, as has Buffalo the last several weeks. But the Buffalo, one thing that hasn't looked ugly is the Buffalo passing game. That's probably what it comes down to. The Buffalo passing game with Nick McMillan and Victor Snow versus the Ohio running game with Say Bangura and Duncan Brune. Which
and Parker Navarro, because he can't throw the ball right now.
Yeah, which is going to win out? It should make for an entertaining game either way.
All right, Kent State. Can you say an exciting Kent State team versus Northern Illinois, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Northern Illinois favored by 4.5 points. Over under set at 44.5. Am I wild for taking Kent State in the points at 4.5?
No. That's I agree with you there. I think Kent State's playing better football. Northern Illinois, man, they just a rough final year in the MAC for them. They will join the Mountain West in 2026. But I think Kent State's going to send them out on a bad note with another loss, which gets Kent State to 5 wins on the year. Remarkable job by Mark Carney. Don't expect them to get a lot of consideration for Coach of the Year, but my God, like he deserves that consideration for what he's done at Kent State this year. Phenomenal job, and hopefully he can keep the Golden Flashes on an upward trend.
All right, and then one of the biggest games this weekend will be Toledo at Central Michigan, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Toledo favored by 10.5 points, over under set at 44.5. But like I said, Central Michigan is that guy you want as your friend. Anything that you need, he'll be there for you. In an alley, he's going to be by your side. At a bar fight, be by your side. Give me Central Michigan to cover the 10.5 points, and I think they win this one outright at home against Toledo. make life difficult for Gleason, and they just eat up clock and just do really unsexy things and win this game.
This is a big game for helping determine MAC championship eligibility, or who's going to be a rep. Obviously, I feel like the loser of this game is pretty much eliminated. I agree with you in terms of Central Michigan's going to cover. So give me Central Michigan at 10.5 points. I don't know that they're going to win the game. But to your point, this is, if you're going to watch one MAC game, this is the one to watch. Like you said, it's going to be, Central Michigan's that old school smash mouth, run the ball and play good defense team. Toledo's fate is in the hands of Tucker Gleason. Not a place I would be comfortable if I was Toledo. Give me Central Michigan getting the 10.5 points.
All right. Ball State at Miami, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Miami favored by 17.5 points. Over under set at 41.5. I'll lay the points with Ohio at 17.5. Give me Miami.
Yeah, I agree. I think Miami wins the game. Ball State not. I mean, I think maybe they exceeded with given what they had with Kyle Kelly there at quarterback. I think they've probably exceeded my expectations. And I think maybe a good. I would give Mike Urimovich maybe a B- in year one. But yeah, I think Miami wins this game. The one thing that gives me pause in terms of the spread is obviously there's no DeQuan Finn, right? It's Henry Hessen.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And so that
I'm going to stay clear.
That gives me some pause. I think that is the play to just avoid this game. But I do think Miami wins the game out.
All right. We talked about this being kind of messy, but what do we have here for the conference championship?
Man, this is the messiest one. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be determined, and then I'll give you my best guess of how I think it works out. But man, the only thing easy about this conference championship game is Western Michigan wins and they're in. It's the only thing. After that, it gets super ugly and messy. Obviously, Toledo and Central play each other, so one of those two teams is going to be eliminated. I think whoever wins that game is probably the favorite to get the other spot. But again, because there's no divisions and an unbalanced schedule, you don't play everybody. It's the tiebreaker is likely going to be the winning percentage amongst common opponents. I didn't take the time to look that up. So I couldn't tell you like what that looks like. To me, I think the likely teams to make the conference championship is Western Michigan. Obviously, they win, they're in, and then whoever wins Central and the Central Michigan Toledo game. So how I would rank it is Western Michigan 1, the Central Michigan Toledo winner, who I think is going to be Toledo, as number 2, Ohio 3, Central Michigan 4, because they're going to lose, I think, to Toledo, and then Miami as the 5th. But really, like I said, I think it comes down to Western Michigan and really whoever wins the Central Michigan Toledo game. The easily the most complicated of them all.
And when you talked about Toledo winning that game, I think Central Michigan wins that game. So we're going to have a rematch of the day after Halloween matchup when the two
Central and
teams
Western
faced faced off at Waldo Stadium where Western Michigan won that game. But yeah, that would be a good rivalry game.
We made it. We made it to the end here. We do have a question. I guess when we're doing our previews, do we talk about mentioning guys? We do. Normally in the course of the regular season, at the end of the show, we have a segment that is specifically college fantasy football, a 10-minute or so segment basically going over waiver wire additions for folks. But obviously, this is the end of the end of the season for college fantasy football. To this week is championship week, so we basically stopped doing that segment at the end. I think we did it for maybe week 11 was the last week we did it. But yeah, so we do mention that. Now, when we do our bowl previews, we will talk about some key players, both offensively and defensively for each team. Not necessarily offense. Are they fantasy relevant? Sure. But it's really more about like who are some of the key players and key guys to watch, in those bowl games. Got a question. This question, I'll let you take this one, Luke. Why you think UTSA is so tough at home?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It must be something in the water there. I can't explain it other than like you just don't have to travel. I played college sports. Baseball was my sport, and like it's just routine. You do the same things. So I have no idea other than the air travel. Like the travel just must not be great for UTSA. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic. I was going to type an answer, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it up on the screen and answer it versus typing it out. So yeah, thanks for following our stuff. We do college fantasy football. That's kind of where Luke and I got to know each other. We both play fantasy football. We both like college fantasy football. Our new website that launched, I don't know, week
It's like
9, 8, maybe week 8, something like that, is 100% dedicated to college fantasy football. We have tools for college fantasy football. We have a CFF League Dominator. We have our Edge Finder tools to kind of give you an edge for your offensive players. We have a Edge Finder for wide receivers. We have tools for folks that play in college fantasy IDP leagues. And then we have a massive data suite where you can find anything you want to know about a college football player. If you want to know something about an offensive lineman, we have our own proprietary offensive lineman rating that's up on our website there for the O lineman. And then we have all the fantasy metrics for wide receivers. First downs per route run, targets per route run, weighted opportunity, red zone targets, non-red zone targets. You go to quarterbacks. You got we got juke rates. Big time throws. Pretty much anything that you would want from a college fantasy football perspective, we have on our website. And it's not just G5 on the website. The website covers P4 teams as well. So yeah, we have you. We 100% have you covered for college fantasy football on our website. If you want to join, right now we have a promo code. If you visit our X account, you should see a pinned tweet there where you can get the website for half off. That's not going to be around forever. The website membership lasts for a year, and then it renew at regular price, which is $99.95 or $99.99. But right now, use that promo code. You can get it at $49.99. I would encourage folks that are on the fence maybe to wait till December, January to go to the website and renew at that point. That way, you're going to get the full 2026 fantasy season in. And sometime probably around the holidays, Luke and I will try to find some free time where maybe we can host a live show dedicated to the website where we can show you guys the tools, you guys can ask questions, etc. It's kind of hard for us to do that during the week when we got all the other college football stuff going on and we're trying to talk about the games. But maybe we can find the time during the holidays to sometime between Christmas and New Year's, we can find some time to host a live show just dedicated to the website where we can kind of show you guys around, be interactive. You guys can ask questions, all that sort of stuff. We'll post that on our X account when we're going to do that well in advance to kind of so you guys can come and join. So that's kind of Out of Rhythm Fantasy. That's what I would encourage you to do, is to kind of look out for that. You can go to their website, you make an account today. You're not going to see anything unless you pay for a membership. I'd love for you to join today. But with the college fantasy football season ending this week, I would personally probably hold off, till late December, early January, use that promo code and get the 2026 season at half cost. Ask Brett. Brett's been a user of our website. Brett was one of our testers in the chat. The feedback we've gotten from the website has been phenomenal. I mean, folks are telling us we are saving them hours of time a week. We have tools and data that just doesn't exist anywhere else. You're not going to find any of the stuff that we have on any other college fantasy website. I've been playing college fantasy football for 26 years now. Luke's been playing for a while. That's what we know. That's what we do. These tools, this stuff on our website are things that I have been using personally for the last 5 years in the leagues that I'm in. I just felt it was time that we needed to bring that to the masses and help grow the space. They're all designed to make college fantasy football easy, or easier, I should say, as easy as we can make it, just because it can be a daunting thing with 136 teams. It's a different animal than NFL fantasy. I played on Yahoo. I played on Yahoo before Fantrax. There was a site called USports. I played on that. When I first started, we were using spreadsheets, and I think Quattro Pro. That's how long. But we were using spreadsheets, and newspapers and stuff, message boards and etc. to do the scoring. But yeah, I've been around. Yeah, I've been around it all, man. Like, I've seen all the scoring websites, the USports, the Yahoo, and then now obviously Fantrax. Speaking of Fantrax, our website integrates with Fantrax. So all our tools, you will link your Fantrax account on our website, and all our tools are tailored to your scoring system and your player pool availability, to your roster, etc. That doesn't exist anywhere else in the college fantasy space. So yeah, again, like I know I'm probably biased, but I think Brett would agree with this statement that if you're not a subscriber to our website and your league mates are, you are at a huge, huge disadvantage. But again, I would wait probably till late December, early January. Use that promo code before it expires and get the 2026 season at half price. But yeah,
I would also mention Out of Rhythm Fantasy. If like, we don't know when we're going to do that tutorial, but we did do a YouTube video tutorial that's about 20-30 minutes or so a few weeks back with this first launch, so you can take a look at that. There have been things that have been added to that and make it even better. But if you want just an idea of what it was, It's evolved a lot over the last couple weeks. So
Yep.
if you want to get an idea, check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the, I think it's called like, it's big announcement or something. It says something like that, but our YouTube channel, and you'll see the initial launch of the website. I think at that point, it only had 2 tools, had our CFF League Dominator and then the IDP tool. We've since added 2 more tools, our Edge Finder tools. We've also added a lot more to the data suite as well. Again, we'll stay tuned. We'll do a rundown. We'll have a live show where we do nothing but go over the website. You guys can join and ask questions, and we'll give you a preview of everything that exists. Maybe by then we'll have everything ready. We still have I don't know, 4 more tools to go to add. Even though the season's ending, we're getting things out there that you'll be able to use for the 2026 season that will not only help you in season but also help you with your drafts. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on our X. We'll announce when we're going to do that live show specifically about the website. And then, like I said, the promo code for the discount is pinned on our X. So yeah, that feels like a good spot to end it, man. We've been going almost 3 hours now. Got to get some rest. But yeah, again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. On X, give us a follow. If you're listening on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. We're so grateful for the immense amount of support we have received and sincerely thank each and every one of you. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss what happened in Week 14. We look forward to what is coming in Conference Championship Week, and as always, bring you up to date on all the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.
Oh,